Hello there.
Beautiful. How you doing, man? You good?
Very good, thank you, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, all good, baby. All right, hang on. Let me just get this done in.
Just want to put the brand endorsement out there. Fanta. It's a lifestyle.
Please accept him as a sponsor.
We want this sponsorship right there, guys.
I like the way Brandon said it. It would be like Fanta, sponsored by Shaquille Howe.
Straight up. I want a Fanta line where it's just like the whole thing is black. Oh, so sick. Fanta like elderflower raspberry mataz.
Have you seen the new Monster one, which is just called like all black or like matte black or something? It looks sick. Like all their branding is sick, but it just tastes like absolute dog shit.
Yeah,
like,
those things taste like arse.
well, most Monster's pretty good. I like the taste of it, but that one they just. Yeah, it was like, this is poor. This is real bad. You put all your money in the branding and went, yeah, that'll do. We don't need to invest in flavour. Fuck it.
You've always got to fucking like be wary of anything that's black coloured, because there's not many things that are black coloured.
Fuck. Okay.
That's food that tastes good.
Oh, right, you caveat that. That's right.
Caveat.
Shaq, you can't say the N word on it.
Matt, Jewish people are people. Man.
Oh god.
Jesus.
Oh man.
Jeez.
For anyone who is just listening and isn't watching this, Shaq can say that. All right.
I can say that. I am black.
Jewish. Okay.
I'm black Jew.
Hey, they should be. So I started watching the Boys with Dad yesterday,
Mm.
and just all their superhero names are terrible. You've got like
They're awful,
you've got like Homelander, Nubian Prince. There's one guy's called Black Noir, and
Yeah,
you're like,
literally it's like,
what?
But I think that's the same thing in comic books as well. Like Black Panther, like it's the same thing. But I think the Boys is like, that's like a kind of a piss take, isn't it? It's supposed to be like that. I watched that show and it's quite strange. Like in terms of like, for anyone who hasn't watched it, Amazon Prime, it bangs. But it's kind of like a take on when how do you say, like when superheroes. How a superhero would really be in our real world. Like it'll be more of a corporate kind of interest, more of a commercialized thing, and like maybe you get into a thing where they're kind of creating like problems that superheroes have to save and shit like that. And it's an interesting take on it, because we always watch Marvel movies and go, oh my god, that's so sick, man, Hulk blew up that building, but you realise like someone lives in that building and like they actually have to like rebuild that afterwards and stuff. Which is really cool, I think.
Yeah, it's a cool take on it, because I mean, they touch on it in like the later Marvel films where they're like, okay, you've got the Avengers, but you know, about then who watches them or whatever. Whereas this is like, yeah, these guys have, as you were saying, it's like if you take the superhero concept, put it in the real world, and be like, all right, Pepsi wants to sponsor this, and you've got all this branding, like they do it in the first
100%.
episode, where you got Carl Lubbers talking about why do you think no one say anything, because you've got all this branding, all of these films, theme parks, roller coasters. It's just billions and billions of pounds in it. You can't. You know, they want to bury all the shit that they do get up to, which 100%. They do, because they just, you know, they should show that they're people.
100%.
It's if you haven't watched it, it's so good.
You should watch it, man.
It's so fucking
some crazy
brutal.
shit, man. That guy gets his girlfriend like.
No, don't, mate.
Let's not spoil it for the old viewers.
It's one of those spoilers, man. I knew what was coming, and I was still there like,
oh boy. It is one of those ones. It's like, oh boy. It's like in Watchmen where fucking Dr. Manhattan just explodes people.
Spoiler alert.
Oh shit! Come on, that's like 8 years now.
You've no excuse with Dr. with Watchmen. That's old school. And the comic is how long? 30 years?
Yeah, that comic is like that. That if you're looking at getting into comic books, that is, I would say, is the quintessential one to get involved in, because Marvel's like, if you want to start Spider-Man, you're starting maybe 50, 60 years behind. Like Watchmen is like a kind of a limited run. It's not like a continuous thing. So it's a really good way to get involved in it, and it's a really interesting take as well on it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, and it's so clearly taking the piss out. I know it is still DC, isn't it? Yeah, so it's taking the piss out of itself. So they've got a character called the Comedian, which is an obvious reflection on the Joker. But it's just like he's not a comedian. He's not even remotely funny
at all. There's no jokes.
There's no joke. He just beats the shit out of people, and you're like,
kills loads of people in Vietnam.
This,
like, oh shit.
You're like, this isn't funny.
Yeah, it's like, what's your name?
His logo is sick though, with the smiley face with the blood drop on it.
That's such an iconic symbolism, man.
Oh mate,
so iconic.
Sick. I remember doing that in school when I was just like, you know, when you partly because you weren't paying attention, partly because you're like, all right, I get it, shut up. You just like end up doodling little faces, like you had that classic S thing, and then you had like the little face like that. I was doing one which was the line. There's just two lines down. smiley face, and then like the tongue stuck out, and, like these sharp eyebrows.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's real cool. And then like 2 months later, I was like, it's a fucking Bon Jovi album
Like,
cover, isn't it?
oh
And I was
boy.
like, fuck. No, it was a fucking Bon Jovi album. I was like,
Bon
bollocks, someone's already got it. Damn.
John Bon Jovi.
That's what Richard wants to call his third-born child.
He lost a bet though. He has to name his child Optimus Prime. So like, that is he has to do that.
Who was that with?
I don't know. I think it may have been Cager. I'm not sure who it was with, but
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to name his child Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime
I'll have to
Barrett.
remind him of that.
Phenomenal.
Well,
what a name.
Before that, he'd apologies everyone. We're outside, so there's going to be some wind. So this is an experiment.
It's good. It's a good experiment.
It's nice, mate. You get the sun.
It's lovely.
But yeah, we might get some wind, and we'll see if we get any
And
dogs turning up. You know,
some birds as well. I had this really really cool, not really cool, like a really obvious but like stupid kind of thing. It's like when you're outside, there's that kind of sense of immediate freedom than you get from when you're inside. Like you can be in the nicest house or whatever, but you still have like a roof over you. You still have like a limit.
Yeah.
Whereas like outside is like complete freedom, complete. Up there is the whole universe, and you're just kind of looking at it, and it's just like that freedom, which is hence why I was like, you know what, we should do this outside.
There was in my A-level philosophy lesson. There was an aspect of our teacher did that. So he took us outside and said, right, we're gonna do a little thought experiment, and this is gonna explain. It's gonna raise some questions about why we feel this way. So here's what we're gonna do. Everyone crouch down. So everyone crouch down to the balls of their feet. It's like, right, we're gonna stare at the ground. You look at it for a couple of minutes, and you describe what you see and then what you feel. So how do you feel? And people are like, I feel kind of lethargic, kind of slow, kind of confined, limited, because you've got the ground and like the grass all over your face. We said the colouring's nice because the green really appeals to us. Like, okay, cool. All right, now stand up, lean back, and just look at the sky, and like now explain how you feel. And you're like, oh shit, you feel fresh, you feel open, you feel alert. Why? And you're just like, that's there's something about that, about why we react like that to things, because objectively a machine would look at those two things and go, the only thing I notice our difference is what it's made of and distance.
Yeah.
Whereas we get an emotional response, and it's such an interesting like thought experiment to do, because it's not a fucking thought experiment, an actual physiological experiment to do, because you're just like, you feel the way staring at like a bit of rock, and then you just look up and you're like
100%.
Oh shit, you just feel good. It's
100%.
So interesting.
100%. I don't know, man. I think being outside is like there's something beautiful about nature that's easily like kind of not describable. It's a kind of physiological connection you have, as like you kind of notice that I'm an animal, everything else is an animal.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of it makes you feel small. I think it makes you feel like a instead of being a kind of a big fish in a little pond, is that you just realize you're all fish in this pond, and everything has its own balance and its own kind of thing, It's like the ducks we were talking about, like there's loads of ducks down there to people we can't see, but there's loads of weird ducks, and you never see them
geese and shit
kind of grow, but they kind of eat the grass, and they immediately shit that grass out, and it's kind of like, why did you do that? But then you kind of look at the grass, and the grass is a lot lower than it is here. So it's like they're obviously fulfilling some kind of function in that area. That's their purpose to be. That's a very good
observation.
It's very weird, man, and it's kind of like you kind of have to make sense of these things, It's like there's loads of shit like that. It's like the fucking tardigrade. They're like they're called water bears as well, but there's this tiny, like genuinely like microscopic animal.
All right.
But they think that they can survive in the vacuum of space. So there's like actual like kind of a thought process that tardigrades may be from outer space, and they're just this weird. They are aliens, and they are here, and they're tardigrades. They can survive they can survive in magma. They can survive in like freezing cold depths of the ocean.
What are they?
No one knows.
Tardigrade.
Yeah, they're fucking weird, man. They're like tiny. They look like little tubes with like 8 legs, and they just kind of like they just do stuff.
How big are they?
Microscopic, like you couldn't see them.
Fine.
You couldn't see them.
Yeah.
But like, man, like there's like a genuine theory where they think that they literally came from outer space because they can survive the vacuum of space. All it would take is for like a planet to explode, or like a wind.
How? That's an interesting point about the size they are and the fact they can survive in space. How small does an object or a creature? No, okay, not an object. How small does a biological creature have to be before it no longer needs to do aerobic respiration?
That is a really interesting question, Matt. And
because if something's microscopic, if it's just a bunch of cells, it can survive anywhere that isn't extreme heat or extreme cold.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's interesting, man. Life is genuinely profoundly strange. Like, it's weird. Like, we may have encountered alien life like already, but who's to say that it takes the same bounds as what we are? I mean, there's like is it Mercury that's got like it's Io that's got like a giant lake. Like it's entirely filled with what looks like water, but it's entirely
Io is one of the moons of
Jupiter,
isn't
isn't it?
it?
I think one of the moons of Jupiter is basically just completely entirely filled with a surface of a liquid, and I think it's either mercury or nitrogen, and it's a completely liquid form of it. And like, who's to say that there's not like fish-like animals over there that instead of water is the way that they kind of breathe, I guess, but they're breathing mercury. Like, what that look like?
Yeah, and why is it that it might be that there's got something like that on other planets or other moons where you got life forms that exist, but we just haven't looked at them because they're not carbon based like us.
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%. Like, it's like, I think that's a lot of the thing of like the idea of human projection onto something. Like, you find it in a lot of politics, and you find it a lot in kind of like interpersonal relationships. But like, people believe like, if I feel a certain way, or I would behave in a certain action, so that must mean that other people must behave in that certain reaction, or and you kind of project those feelings or emotions onto them. So if you think that I'm alive and I'm a bipedal kind of thing, anything with sentient life that could talk to us or like thing would be another bipedal thing that comes down and speaks to us and whatnot. That idea should be like, we have so much variety on Earth that like it's profoundly strange. Like, there's so many fucking strange animals out there. Like,
us especially.
Like us especially, but when you get home, have a quick Google of the star-faced mole. That's strange as hell.
I've seen that.
Man, I had a nightmare about this. I googled this animal, and it's profoundly strange. It's called either the maned fox or the maned wolf, and it looks exactly like a fox, but its legs. It's the tallest canine on the planet.
Right.
And it stands at about 120 centimeters. Bear in mind, I'm about 160.
Yeah.
I'm 180. Sorry, 181.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
So this thing is like,
it's 2/3 of your height.
It's tall, but it also looks like a fox. So it's just got really long, disgusting legs, and it kind of creeps around. I had profound nightmares of this thing. Just like, bro, like it was horrible. Just this thing creeping around, like it's horrible, man.
It was the Batman of little foxes.
100%. It looks strange, bro. It's like if you mix like a deer, a giraffe, and a fox together. That's exactly what you come out with.
Well, which way around was it that dogs were the size of horses, or horses were the size of dogs?
I think both, Matt.
Yeah?
I think you're both right, because I remember looking at some weird things on the internet, like this weird prehistoric horse. It was like really tiny.
Yeah.
And then looking at huge dogs, just huge. I'm so glad we don't live in prehistoric times. I'm glad.
This is the bullshit where people are just like, some people are like, oh, it's the worst time to be alive. It's the worst time to be alive. It's really sad and everything. It's like, fuck off. If you look at statistics, I'd rather live here than with a saber-toothed fucking tiger. We're sat in the great fucking outdoors. There's a huge like body of water over there. You've got traffic. You've got loads of trees and shit. And we can sit here for days on end and not get eaten by a fucking wolf.
And not even that, man.
And that still exists now.
Having that complete like animal fear of like a giant saber-toothed tiger just coming over and just, there's nothing you can do at that point in time.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah, literally.
It's like a bear. It's like
I think they're bigger than bears, aren't they?
Well, yeah,
Saber-toothed ones.
but like, we have bears here today, but we don't think of bears like in the same primal way our ancestors may have thought about, like the saber-toothed tiger, like just coming into a village, decimating a few people. You haven't got any guns. You've got like potentially a bow and arrow. Potentially.
That's probably considered very advanced.
And that's cutting edge tech, right? That's like cutting edge. You got like,
obviously no disparaging of a bow. We love a good bow.
We love a good bow. I love a good bow. Bows are the best. But
yeah, man.
At the same time, what is a bow going to do to a saber-toothed tiger, man?
I know, really annoy it.
Really, really, really piss it off and make you want to kill you far more, you know?
Very easily.
Far more.
Yeah, it's... Because that's the thing, like with the bear thing, the reason we don't have the connection to the bear is because we've been sold on Paddington Bear, Yogi Bear, the fucking bear in the fucking cereal that support
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh
murdered all your children without thinking about it all the time.
Mate, it would have murdered its own children.
They do that, and we think they're really cute.
Yeah, and they're like, oh no, you got to protect them. You're like, yes, in certain places. overall,
No, bro.
that
like,
thing is a literal monster from your deepest, darkest nightmare, worse than your nightmare. And we're like, oh, the poor bear.
Literally, a maned wolf or a maned fox is like weird to look at, and it's quite creepy. But a bear is like basically invulnerable killing machine that we can't really do anything about. If a bear rolls into your town, you're gonna die. Like
there was this picture of this woman who she was like a conservationist, so they needed to tag. They knocked these bears out, tag them so they could work out where they were. Say, okay, this is the population we've got, and they knocked it out. And then they got closer. They were like, "What the is this a bear or is this like a small hairy elephant?" They were like, "What?" And she lifted up its paw. Its paw is bigger than my torso.
Jesus Christ!
Paw, and you're like, "What?" It took two of them to lift the paw up, and it's bigger than all of this. That's just a pad. That's like your palm. That creature's palm is bigger than half of my body, and you're like,
man.
no, thank you.
It's fucking upsetting, man. Like bears are genuinely like a genuine worry for me. I genuinely worry about taking like a walk, like going to California, taking a walk, and be like, oh god, oh shit, and then having a bear actually murder me. Like
I think it's less of a bear. I think it's more mountain lions and rattlesnakes.
Yeah, but
bears are like Utah.
I feel like with the that I can't remember what that guy did, but he's like I think it's like either like a librarian or something like, or like a software engineer, and he like killed a mountain lion with his bare hands.
Oh,
so
I remember that story.
I think I might be. I think Shaq versus mountain lion 1-on-1. I've got maybe a 20% chance, and I'll take those odds. A bear 1-on-1, 0, absolute zip. I just have to pray that it gets bored after killing me. Takes a few bites, and I'm like, I can survive with half a leg.
It gets bored.
It just gets bored. That's
yeah,
the
you'd be
only
like,
reason.
You'd be like, oh man, this leg has got nothing on it. It's just bone.
Like,
I'm going home.
I thought this was a deer. Some shit. Like, I don't want this. I'm just sat there bleeding out. Like, oh god.
You're there missing a leg from the knee down, and you're there like, thank you, and he's there like, yeah, I'll come back later. You're like, don't rush. You're like, oh, well.
So that Grizzly Man,
the film,
man,
the greatest unintentional comedy of all time.
Oh mate, it's so funny, but like also like definitely not funny. Like when you go on YouTube and type in Grizzly Man, yeah, a bit of a warning. There's a man who basically spends a lot of his summers living with bears. I think they're grizzly bears. Is it grizzly bears in Canada?
Yeah.
And he basically ends up getting eaten by a bear, but he records himself doing it. Like, so he goes out and talks to his he's like, oh, go away, bear. And the bear's like, I've been starving for 4 months, so you're looking quite appealing right now.
Yeah.
And then
it's like he's picked like the 3 bears that aren't in hibernation, and there's like no food.
Yeah, there's no food.
And he's like, I'm protecting them, and the bear's looking at him like, hey, what are you talking? What?
They eat him, and then you can just hear him kind of like getting killed. And then the bear, like his girlfriend, is like in the tent, and he's like trying to protect her. And it eats him. It basically kills him a bit, so he's kind of a bit dead. And he's kind of like, ugh. And then you hear that the bear goes away, and then it comes back for the girlfriend. Like, what kind of animal? What is that? That is profoundly strange, man. That like there are things on Earth that just don't think of us the way we think of them. Like we don't think of us as like, oh, it's my friend John, you know, or like, oh, this is my dog. Like, I'm gonna pet the dog, and it's not gonna kill me because I feed it, and we have like a symbiotic relationship. It's like that's food. And I will hunt. It's like that area in India where like tigers have been known to like kill and eat people, and there's potentially been like 300,000 attacks.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, it's fucking bears. Excuse me. There was So typically the female bear is more scarier and more territorial than the male are, and so there was this female bear with her cub. She'd wandered off. The cub was there. This male bear came over, killed the cub, started eating it. Mum came screaming over, fought him off, chased him away, and then finished eating her own cub.
Jesus Christ!
And you're like, what? Because as soon as it's dead, you're like, nah.
I think it's like that common kind of like joke you see people go, I'm a mama bear, you know, you fuck with my kids, and like bears eat their own kids. So if you're a mama bear, like I'm definitely worried for your for your kids, you know.
Yeah, because who the hell? So for the kids, they're either going to be eaten by you or by their dad.
Or their dad, one of them. Someone's going to eat them.
Someone's going to eat them. If we're going to take that, analogy to its, or that comparison to its logical
100%.
conclusion.
But you also got to think though, how hard how hard do you have to be if you were like a bear? How hard do you have to be to like make it to adulthood?
Oh mate,
just a fucking unit. Just like my dad has tried to eat me like 5 times and I survived. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna kill everything.
Well, this is why people get it's why the more I hear about it, the more I talk to people about it, the more I look into it. If you do hunting right, there's obviously nothing wrong with it. Like I asked someone the other day, like, have you ever had a bear? And they looked at me like I said, have you ever had a small child? And I'm like, it's okay. It's a very long thing that I can't get into yet. But I was just thinking like moral hunters they'll go after a full bull deer because it's lived its life, it's had its progeny, it's lived a very long time, it's going to die, soon in a horrific way. Let's shoot in the head with a bow or a gun or whatever, and then I can benefit from worse stuff. Same thing with a bear. But it's like, as you say, for all of those animals, be it a deer, be it a fucking elk, be it a bear, to get away from predators and to fight off other predators, man. To be able to live that long, you are a specimen, and you've definitely lived that long, passed on your DNA as well. 100%. So it's like, I have nothing but respect for you, which is why I want you, because you've done. It's like we have our stereotypical progression in life as a human. Like, you go to school, go to university, get a job, go to senior management, retire, and then you do that, and you get a little tick at the end of your life. And that's what that bear's done by surviving to that age.
Fucking murdering shit.
Literally.
That's the thing, though. I think you make a really good kind of analogy for life as well, because like for people as well, because
life is like a bear.
I think that's the thing, because I think for some reason humans have decided to kind of take ourselves out of that kind of equation. Like, you got to think, like, back in ancient Egypt times, there's like a 40% likelihood that you're going to get absolutely mauled by a fucking Nile crocodile, and that could just happen to you. So you kind of got to live your life in certain
or a contemporary child in Florida.
Oh god, man! Can we talk about Florida?
Yeah, man.
Florida's weird. I'm just saying it, man. Like, the more I read about Florida, man, like it is like, just Google Florida, man. Like
Google image search Florida.
Like, it's a weird place to live.
Yep.
I've got a friend who lived in Florida. He's an English guy, but he moved over there with his family. He's a lovely guy, really love him. Shout out to you, you know who I'm talking to. But like, the stories he's told me about, like, Florida and like Disneyland, and like, you can go to the happiest place on earth and then have your child be eaten by a fucking crocodile. Like, that should not be happening in the 21st century. That just shouldn't be happening. Like, it's not like, what is going on?
Or, let's have a controversial opinion, should it be happening? Because as I really interrupted you about, a typical life in Egypt, you have the real danger of getting eaten by a crocodile. Maybe there's a reason.
Straight up.
Maybe.
I keep getting seen, like, on my Instagram feed, like, scrolling through, and I found like a fucking video of this mountain lion. I think it's a mountain lion or a leopard. It's just like, I think it's like a very rich person's like house, and they've got their chihuahua sleeping outside, and the fucking mountain lion, whatever it is, big cat, just fucking yeets the fucking like thing, drags it off, and the owner comes up running, and that thing is gone. It's gone. And it's like, we've kind of put ourselves in these weird situations where we've kind of gone, right, we need to kind of, like, settle this land and everything like that, without any real care for that. The very, very, very fucking dangerous. Like, why are we in Australia? Like, on a real level, that place terrifies me. There's so many things that want to kill me on a like we just kind of decided to go and live in these places because, like, shit, there's a fucking fly. We decided to live in these places because, of.
Yeah, there's a spider.
There's a spider.
Yeah, you flicked off.
Oh, hell no, man. What the hell?
You wanted to come outside.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
You wanted to come outside, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy nature, bro.
No, I am enjoying it, man. I love nature. There's just a certain amount of nature.
Fuck you.
There's a certain amount of nature I feel like we need to chill.
No. There is a point. There is a point. Keep going. Go on.
Fucking Tiger King, man. Like, why does that man have fucking?
I refuse to watch that. I'm not.
It is definitely animal cruelty.
I'm not contributing towards watching that.
It's definitely animal cruelty, isn't it? Like, 100%. Like, that is animal cruelty. Like, right? There's no reason why there should be more tigers in Texas than there are in the rest of the world. In the wild.
Yeah, like, and the answer can't be because Texas.
Because Texas. Because we want to have.
That is the answer, but that can't.
We want to have tigers.
Yeah. Oh shit! I didn't know he got tigers.
He's got tigers.
We can't fucking repeat it. Someone else's special. That's not fair.
We can't do that.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Fucking tigers, man. Like, it's just like, I think, like, humans have like this weird thing where we kind of treat ourselves as if we're different or better than other people, and I think that kind of, we've now got into a situation in life where now we've become technologically advanced. We're starting to do that between each other as well. we're starting to say that, hey, because I've done this X, Y, and Z in my life, or my heritage is X, Y, and Z, that means I'm better than you in X, Y, and Z places. And it's like,
yeah, that's that.
why this exceptionism is strange, you know. It's very strange, you know. Like we've been to school with people like that, you know. Their parents have done very well off, and that's eventually going to trickle down to them, and they have an altered sense of perception because of it. And it's kind of like, but you haven't done anything. Like the sense of kind of achievement of the past should always be, your reaction to that I think should always be, I'm going to try and better that, one up it, you know. And that, which is, I think, is the natural cause of life, you know. Like you're supposed to do better than your parents, and they're supposed to do better than their parents, you know, until you get a situation where you kind of learned all these kind of tools and techniques and pass them on to your kids, and they kind of do better than you and everything like that. And there's a kind of a culture, I think, of kind of, my dad's made $1 billion, so I'm not going to go and work, or I'm just going to take his place at the company and not really change anything. And kind of, I think it leads to a stagnation of our species, you know. I really do, because I don't think there should be a situation where you can live your life having never have worked more than someone like us who had to go and get a job and everything like that. That should never be the case. And I don't understand the kind of mentality behind parenting like that, you know. I feel like everyone should be given have the opportunity for a great life, but I also feel like you have to work for that. You can't just take it. You can't just be a taker and not contribute something to life, whether that's kind of your knowledge or your experience or everything like that. Like, I struggle to think of what Donald Trump's kids are gonna bring to the world, or like Jeff Bezos's kids. We don't even know who Jeff Bezos's kids are, but they're gonna inherit the biggest fortune that has ever existed in mankind, and we don't know what they do. You know, they deliver all our packages. They do our fucking servers. Like they do. Amazon has so many fingers and so many pies that I predict in a matter of 20 years that we're going to be using Amazon more than, you know, more than most things. You know, inadvertently. Like say you're a game streamer, yeah. So you want to stream your games. You're now doing that via Amazon right now. You know, I think they've bought Pinterest as well. So you can't even post your art. You can't even post your art and it not touch Amazon's hands or touch the server from Amazon. And whether that's right or wrong in terms of the business kind of thing, that's not for me to say, but his kids are going to inherit that. They're going to inherit all of that. 160 billion? Like, that's unnatural. Like, what will they give to the world? Like, is Jeff Bezos the height of that family tree? Is he the height?
And I mean, if you look at it from a capitalist perspective, or even like a commercial free market perspective, he is the epitome. Apple's the epitome 100%. Because of the size of those companies that they are, and the fact, if you look at it objectively, take out emotions or whatever, if you get to a size where you can afford to acquire other huge businesses, then it's nothing but good.
100%.
Nothing but good. So Amazon 6 years ago bought Morrison's as well.
Oh Jesus, why?
Why not? It's Whole Foods.
Yeah, shit.
So, which I was like, that's a fucking genius move.
Big move, yeah.
Because even 6 years ago they were still still titans, but still nothing like they are today. Because they were, he probably reached at a time when Amazon was known the same way, same sentences like Jesus, like the amount of same frequency, probably 10 years ago, and people are like, all right, cool, it's this thing, it's always there, but it's done nothing but increase and go up and up and up, and people are like, how is it still going up? How is that possible?
It's a crazy kind of existence when we think about the corporate interests in our world and how kind of inescapable they are. You know, we can't really escape Google anymore, and you know, we can't really escape Amazon.
Yep.
We definitely can't escape something like
Google,
Apple as well.
Facebook, Apple.
Facebook, I think, is the most dangerous out of all of them, because they're not even
Facebook and Twitter. Twitter just from mismanagement, and Facebook from its insidious nature.
Yeah, Twitter, because I think Twitter. Can I just take the side about Twitter? Can you please, Twitter, if you're looking at this, can you just please, unsuspend my account? I just made an account and I haven't posted anything. I'm putting my address and they just randomly suspended it, and I keep trying to unsuspend it, and they're like,
what was it for? Was it a new one? Your new project?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, literally. Like, I put it for the No Soul Records Twitter. I made a thing. For it, and they just suspended it, and I was like,
what?
Okay. I sent them like 5 emails.
Hey, Jack, sort your shit out.
Yeah, Jack, mate. Come on, buddy. Come on.
So you haven't released anything on it?
No, I've done. Did a tweet.
So it's just the name of it.
Just the name. Just to hold it so I can use it at some point. But yeah, I think Twitter is quite. It seems like they don't have a. To me, from my experience, it doesn't seem like they have like a solid we're going to do X, Y, and Z, or manage things correctly. I agree with them fact checking people though. I agree with that. I would love to have that, like an independent agency with every kind of news broadcaster for fact check stuff. But was entirely independent, just left to do its own thing. But Facebook, man, Facebook tells you what you want to see, man. And there's something deeply wrong with that. You should never be able in a situation where you just see things. It's like Facebook and Google. The way you Google something, say you're an anti-vaxxer, you're never going to Google vaccines don't cause autism. Never going to Google it. So you're never going to get the answer that you see. And Google may have...
You're never going to get a contrary belief.
100%.
Just so you can get a rounded opinion.
100%. And you can have 99% of all the results coming back saying that vaccines don't cause autism.
Yeah.
But you're definitely going to get one that says it does. And if you're a person like that, like confirmation bias is a real bitch, man.
Yeah.
The human brain is wired fucking strange, man. Like you can really believe like that vaccines cause autism, and there's peer-reviewed research like that is like, well, they don't. And fair enough, you may not want mercury in your thing. They took them out. It makes no difference either way. But like, you can just Google things, or like you can be on an anti-vax Facebook group and everyone's posting the same shit. Oh, have you seen this article? It's some bullshit article that's been disproven so many times, but you've never even seen the rebuttal, so you're just going to believe that as fact,
Yeah, and there's something about, Twitter being the prime example for around Facebook, that there's something about seeing something written down, because the internet is created after I was born, so within a fucking lifetime. That was the internet we know now was created after my lifetime. Everything before that point was written down because that's how we kept information.
Yeah.
And that's how, but there was only a limited amount of people that were able to do that. So back in the day would have been monks, scribes, holy men, in quotes, because they were, because a lot of what we've been told was by the church. And then so on and so on. It was philosophers, scientists, mathematicians, that they would have written it down because they knew their life was going to end and they needed to pass the information on.
100%. It goes back to the animal thing you were saying.
Yeah.
Passing that information.
Well, it's that, and it's more a case of we still have that in us. It's an evolutionary thing or what, but what written down. If we believe it straight off the cuff that it's true, it's if we see anything on Twitter, we're gonna be like, you instantly go, whoa, and then you're like, hang on, like wrestles hold of it, and it's like, hang on. If you've got like a rational brain, but it's just the fact that because it's written down, it then means it's true.
Yeah.
Even if you then prove later on it's not true, for that time until it's proven otherwise, it's true because it's written down.
That's mad, isn't it?
I could write any bullshit anywhere, and people will go, "Really?" And you're there like,
and
"No, I'm just proving a point."
The good and bad thing about Twitter is that anyone can have a voice, which is a beautiful kind of thing. But the most
free speech part,
dumb,
fantastic.
Fucking like Milo Yiannopoulos, whatever his name is, or fucking like there's so many people like Dave Rubin, like he can just write. People or Candace Owens can write whatever the fuck she wants. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
And it's provable stupidity. It's dumb, and they have moneyed interests. People like that Dave Rubin and Candace Owens have actual moneyed interests. See, they're being paid by, I think it's either PragerU.
Pause it one second, mate. It's going to be funny. Is that still recording that?
You
still picking up the vocals or not?
Check. Yes, it is.
Alright, cool. Oh yeah, fine. Sorry, sorry, mate, Carol.
But I think people like Candace Owens and Dave Rubin have actual moneyed interests. They've actually been. Dave Rubin used to be a Young Turks host, which is a really progressive kind of thing.
I know Rubin. Yeah,
he used to be a host on there. They had a bit of a falling out where he was determined. He from both sides, from what I've seen, is that there was a disagreement for something. Over what that is, there's a lot of contention. But he then moved to doing his own show, and over the course of 2 years, he's gone from being a complete progressive, complete liberal, to being a very, very right-wing person. And he's being paid by people called the Koch brothers, who are huge.
KOCH.
Yeah. Huge oil. I think it's oil and coal. No, I think it maybe just be oil.
It's definitely fossil fuels.
There's some kind of fossil fuels. That's what their thing is. So, and they pay off a lot of US politicians, a lot of, and sometimes they do kind of spread out to other countries as well to kind of keep their interest involved. But he's been taking money from them and a few other societies. Money through them is probably the better thing to say. He's been taking money from them, and all of a sudden his political views have changed on everything. Now he's talking about let's deregulate stuff. Like deregulation is in some aspects is a good thing, but you can easily say why it comes down to the Brexit vote again. it comes down to, it's very easy to say no to something than it is to say yes and provide a natural reason for something. So it's easy to say, let's deregulate stuff. Why? I don't want people to tell me what to do. That's very understandable, right? But if I deregulate, things like construction, then we start to have shit where like buildings are falling down because they're not built properly, or power lines and are built next to water lines and everything like that, and stuff like that. It's just, he just says a lot of he's changed his tune on a lot of stuff, and it's very interesting to see that, because it's like watching a person, because I really liked him when he was on Young Turks, and it's like I don't like him now. It's that like I'm confused as to where you're, again, not even on my political bias, because I would say I'm very left, if you use the term left wing in terms of social policy for the people, but very much right wing in terms of economic kind of powers. I would love to see the government function more like, in terms of economically, more like functioning more like an ethical business, something like that. That is what I want more thing. But it's like he's not even saying that. It's like he's completely gone from saying one kind of viewpoint on something, or like, I think his latest thing is he's talking about is it him? He's talking about limiting abortion rights or something like that, or like
Christ.
It's and like these things like with Ben Shapiro's another big face as well. If you listen to Ben Shapiro, just for anyone who likes Ben Shapiro, slow him down and really listen to what he's saying.
He's like him talking to you is like being shot with an Uzi.
Yeah, literally, it's like Speedy Gonzalez but with words. It's and you're like, oh my god, that sounded smart, because he uses a lot of big words.
And also, it's the speed, so you can't slow down and think about it.
100%.
But it's interesting seeing him being like spoken to by people who disagree with him. Like, it was them talking about like it was like Shapiro's relationship with Rubin, because Rubin's gay.
Yeah.
And some guy was like, you work with him. He's like, yeah, but would you have him round? No. Would you have him round to like your party? No. It's like, why? He's gay. Why is that thing? Oh, it's not my belief. Why do you believe that? Because I believe it. And you're like,
okay, why do you care?
What? It doesn't affect you. And it's not like he's coming around because he's gonna bum you against your will.
Yeah, literally,
like
bro. It's such irrational. Like,
yeah, he just is gay. He has a loving partner.
He's married. Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, that's such a. I think that is the fucking fear. Less for our generation. I don't know anyone our generation is homophobic, but definitely for our generation before, that is the fear of we're scared of gay people because we're scared they're going to find you attractive.
Yeah,
how fucking arrogant are you to think you're that good looking?
I also think there's a part of it that's also about kind of they're scared of gay people because they have a little bit of that in them. They kind of get it, and I think that makes people feel strange. Because for me, I wouldn't say like 100% I could ever rule out being with a man. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, like, you haven't been if you don't know until you're in that position, do you?
Exactly. If you love someone, you love someone. I think.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what is important. But for the reason for not having your friend over,
every other aspect of your life, you're happy to spend time with
him.
Yeah.
Why does what he do in the bedroom
affect him being allowed in your house?
Like, I've never got it. Like,
nah, it's fucking dumb.
Because I'm from the Caribbean kind of. My heritage is from the Caribbean, and there's a lot of that in kind of our culture of kind of derogatory statements about gay people. And I've just thought it makes you a weaker person to kind of talk about gay people like that, because at the end of the day, personally, I don't give a shit who you sleep with. Are you a nice person? What is the contents of your character? Yeah, that's the important thing. Yeah, and for me, I've always thought if you're a person that really, really cares about what two adults do in the kind of the privacy of their own bedroom, like, you're truly strange. Yeah, like, why do you care?
Yeah, why? It's so weird.
I don't give a shit. I respect my gay colleagues and everything that they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I can't rule out that I would never be with a man. I can't rule out, I'm in a loving relationship with my girlfriend Lucy. Shout out to you, Lucy. You're an amazing person. But like, I could never rule out if things were to if my life were to be different. Me being with, I can never rule that out. It's not. I would never.
You can't see the future, can you?
You know what I'm saying? And even if I wasn't, I still wouldn't care about what a gay person does. A gay person does in the privacy of their own life. It's your life. Who are you as a person? Like, what drives you? What music do you love? When you look at the sky, what do you think? That's the questions I really want to know.
See, Shaq doesn't care about people's sexuality. He only cares if you're a Garth Brooks fan.
Straight up, man.
Because if you like Garth Brooks,
Garth Brooks is
that's a red flag, mate.
He's got an amazing voice, but he's just a strange man.
Weird. That's Chris Gaines, mate. That's who it is. Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines.
There was our one of our idols, Brent Christmas. He sorry, Burke Crystals. He made a joke and he was like, yeah, he said, imagine, do you reckon all those guys are homophobic or scared that dicks secretly delicious?
Oh, that must be it, isn't it? That must. That's exactly what I think about.
I was like, fair play. Makes a lot of sense. I think fair enough. They're scared. They're secretly delicious.
Literally, like, and the craziest thing as well is like, if you look at like in America, because it's the kind of the most dramatic sense of a political kind of landscape.
Well, dramatic everything.
Yeah, everything's
from
dramatic.
Cars to political beliefs.
Everything's dramatic, and we're kind of getting a bit of that over here now because of Bojo. But like, fucking like. A lot of Republican senators who are coming out as are saying that, you know, they're violently kind of anti-gay and kind of have like an anti-LGBTQI agenda. They're the people that are being caught in bathroom stalls with a wide stance. Google that. Wide stance. Google that. Like, you know, like, why couldn't you be honest in your own truth? You know, why couldn't you live your own life? What was it that stopped you? And maybe we should stop those things that stop other people from living that life as well, so then they don't.
Because if you look at it, you know, the kindest observation, then it could be that they acted the way they were because they themselves were oppressed. They
100%.
themselves were, you know, scared to be who they were.
100%.
So they you know, to remain in their life and to be accepted, they had to pretend to be something they weren't,
100%.
and then, you know, go up to people just who were their peers.
It's like, oh no, oh mate, are you gay? Oh no, man, I'm not gay. I hate those gays. And you go so overboard with it.
Yeah.
It's just a weird.
And it's always a very religious thing as well. To be so vehemently against it, you definitely are it.
But that's the thing as well. The thing is, the religious kind of arguments, all the kind of politicians kind of espouse. You know, shout out to Jacob Rees-Mogg because he's exactly the same as that. Google it. You know, but like in the Bible, I can't wear what I'm wearing right now.
No one can wear shit. No one can do anything if you follow the Bible.
You can't wear, in the Bible, you cannot wear two clothes that are of different cloth. That is in the same passage, or a very adjacent passage to the passage that outlines that being gay is an abomination. So there's that. But there's also a thing of, if you're a parent who's fundamentally Christian and you've got a gay son and then you kick them out, it doesn't say to do that in the Bible. It just says that God thinks it's an abomination. And with that, in terms of religion, I like to always defer to Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll? No, C.S. Lewis. Yeah. C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis, the author of The Chronicles of Narnia, for all you don't know, you should know, but it's a Christian book, and it is it's a Christian book. You know, Aslan is a kind of parallel of Jesus and everything like that. But one thing that C.S. Lewis said that really struck me and kind of really changed my perception of how we should look at religions is that he said no good deed done in the name of the devil, or the Tash in that book, can be attributed to Tash, because Tash is overtly evil. You can't do a good deed for the devil. You can every good deed. You could be the most, like, I love Satan. Satan's the fucking best. He's the guy. But if you're helping your fellow man and you're doing loving things and you're showing love to people, that can only be given to God. That only goes to God. And if you do a bad deed in the name of God, you can't attribute that to God, because God is overtly good by kind of, if you believe the scriptures. So you can't ever do a bad deed for God, and you can't ever do a good deed for the devil.
Yeah.
So if you're got a gay son and you kick them out of your house, you're not doing a good thing for God. God doesn't want you to do that. Jesus Christ said, you know, I can't even think of what Jesus Christ said. Jesus Christ said, you know, love your fellow man, you know, things like that. You know, he reformed the kind of rules that were in, you know, the Old Testament and stuff like that. He reformed a lot of what Christianity was, and that's why there's kind of a dispute between, in the Bible, between kind of the Jewish kind of elders at the time and Jesus Christ. He was kind of preaching this new gospel. You know, he made a cult, and that cult kind of took form, and it became a full formed religion. But you can't take a part of something, if it's your truly held religious belief, you can't take a part of it and apply it to everything, and then just, actually this thing, it doesn't apply, because I mean, I want to wear my blue jeans. You know, I want to look good. You know, I want to wear blue jeans and my satin top. You know, you can't do that. It says overtly in the Bible, and it's never been redacted. It says overtly in the Bible, you cannot wear two clothes of different cloth. You cannot eat shellfish, and you cannot eat pigs. You know, it says you cannot work on a Sunday, but how many Christians work on a Sunday? You know, you cannot take these things as you can't say one thing, speak out one side of your mouth, and then do with another side of your mouth say something different. Especially if this is your sincerely held religious belief, you have to take it as it is. You know. And if you want to find the spiritual side of it, the way I kind of come out, I don't really wouldn't class myself as a Christian or a full religion, but I am baptized, confirmed, and have my Holy Communion, so I'm fully G'd up, man.
Likewise.
I'm gang banging for God, bro. I'm out here on these streets for God. I'm out here, but but the way I think about it is, I wouldn't say I would classify myself as a Christian or any kind of religion. I go on the pure basis of the human character. If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. I try my best to help my friends. You know, I try to live my life with my own kind of moral compass and do the things I think are right. And I think we all make mistakes. We all falter at some points in time. But it's about how you kind of get back to where you were. I think that is my kind of struggle. I think that's my journey in life. Is I want to be the best person I possibly can. Jesus Christ, this wind. Best person I possibly can, you know, and that's going to take a lot of growing, a lot of work on doing it, and I'm not going to get it right 100% of the time. But then you have these types of people that believe this book says X, Y, and Z, and if I follow these things in this book, then I'll be fine. Or follow the things that the other religious leaders are telling me. But how can you spin kicking your own flesh and blood child out of your house for being gay? How can you condone female genital mutilation? You're mutilating your daughters. How can you condone that? Did God call for that? You know, is that what God is about? If God is love, is that love? You know, slavery is in the Bible. Is slavery good? You know, you can't take things on one side of the thing and not apply it to everything. And if you realise that the book that you're following is kind of contradictory, maybe you should take the good out of it. Maybe you should take the good lessons out of it, and be a more vague person. Be a more kind of compassionate and more loving person. Go to church every day, understand, but also understand that there's some things in there that need reforming. You know, that need structure and change. You know, and that is should be the human struggle. You know, I always think that you should. The idea of an organised religion, it's an interesting thing, and it does have a lot of benefits, but you cannot apply things. You cannot do things that you know are morally wrong. You know it. When you kick your child out because they're gay, you know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. When you disown them, you know it's wrong. There's no scenario where your child likes a person of the same sex and that has an aversion to your sincerely held religious beliefs. Fair play. They're still your child, and that love should have come before that. You know, like Jesus was God's son, right? The child of God. And Jesus did things. Jesus did outbursts and stuff like that. Jesus committed assault in the marketplace and everything like that. Jesus lost his shit sometimes, you know, because he was a man and he has his own flaws and mistakes. I'm not saying that being gay is a flaw and mistake, but we're able to accept people when they do things like that and forgive them for that. But for some reason, I'm able to kick my child out and feel nothing, or and feel like I'm doing what God wants. God forgave us for our sins. If you believe that, if you believe Christianity, then Jesus Christ's sacrifice is actually a covenant. It's actually a contract, and He died in our place for our sins. Yeah. So all sins are forgiven, and that comes on to kind of another point of myself. Who are you to judge? Who are you to judge? Like if a gay person, they're born gay and they come out to you maybe 14, 15 and you kick them out and whatnot like that. Who are you to judge? Who are you? You're a human being. You're not the creator. You're not Jesus. You're not almighty on high. So what gave you the permission to do that? Because there's nothing in bear in mind, I've read the Bible back to front a few times. It's an amazing book. If you read it as a story, as I do, it's an amazing kind of piece of literature because it kind of documents a few kind of key areas in history. But if you really kind of think about it, it comes back to C.S. Lewis. You know, you can't do a bad deed in God's name, and that's a bad deed. You're forsaking your child. You're forsaking them. You're leaving them to the big bad world. You're giving up on your duties because of how they were born, something they have no control over. You know, and that is it's unconscionable. It's not. You don't get to do that. It's like Westboro Baptist Church. Like, how do you get to? Why are you the people that need to protest outside soldiers' funerals? Why are you that person?
And it's such a specific action to do, because God. Okay, you can say that God, doesn't like gay people. Fine, but to do what Fred Phelps and his whole, brood did was weird and just hateful. And as you say, it's the bad action that they're attributing to God. But I think what you're saying is valid, because people still take the Bible and they follow it, cherry pick it, of course,
100%.
What they want to do. But I think what you're talking about, what people do is that's the symptom. That's not the root. The root of the problem is the fucking Bible, because. To paraphrase something that someone said about the US presidents, which is applicable to this as well, if they saw it now, they'd be like, you didn't write new shit?
100%.
It would just because there's so many lessons in it. Like, there's so many things that from ancient times that. Why do we think that things from ages ago have more validity than they do now?
100%.
When we've gone through the Enlightenment and Industrial Revolution. Some things we do, the Book of Five Rings, the Art of War,
100%.
Many aspects of the Bible, absolutely. Treat thy neighbour how you want to be treated. The Ten Commandments are, for the most part,
most effective tools.
And it's how just to be, compassionate and for ourselves as a unique species to be the ones that have tools and have chosen to take ourselves out of the food chain, to not be part of to not fear that animal because we've chosen to do that, to be better because of how our brains are developed. Yes, some ancient things knew their shit, but the ones that survived, we might think, oh my god, there's so many. We've got Plato, Socrates, Epictetus, go
100%.
Seneca. You go on and on and on and on. But you're like, yeah, but that's 50 people. How many people lived then, and that's how many we've got
100%.
left. Whereas now we've got so many people who are living now. People people who are alive right now. You've got Steven Pinker, Malcolm Gladwell, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Cox, all those people. Even just contemporary. Even if you don't believe him, you've got Richard Dawkins. All those people. Even if you don't agree with them, the fact that they exist now, why not listen to them about things like that? Or I'm sure I don't know. It's such an outmoded, cherry-picked fucking book.
100%.
But as you say, the fact it's a good book because as I came to realise it is perfectly balanced. So the reason there's so much contradiction is because the whole book itself is an allegory for life. It's not going to be all one track
100%.
Because life isn't one track. But people take it and they say,
literal.
Yeah, they think because the Bible is just a tale of life. It's not necessarily how to live life,
100%.
but it is a tale of life.
And it's really interesting. Like, if you read the Bible, it's a really interesting book because it kind of details different people's life. Like, one of my favorite chapters in the Bible, just as a kind of book, is a chapter about a lady called Ruth, and it just kind of outlines her living her life and kind of her interactions with God and stuff like that. Or you kind of got Job, who kind of gets fucked over by God, like, and it's in this weird contest between God and the devil, and it kind of outlines kind of the ups and downs and the heartbreaks of life and kind of things like that. And that's interesting. You can't take Leviticus and then ignore Job, and you can't watch
You can't choose Deuteronomy over Corinthians either.
100%. You can't do that. It's just religion's interesting, and I prefer to kind of look into kind of philosophies as opposed to kind of vaguer kind of understandings of life than a kind of taught doctrine, which you can kind of either take literally or kind of figuratively. I think it's always best to take a work like that, a kind of work that's kind of told to be a true story or told to be a thing as a kind of, especially if it was written in ancient times, as a kind of a more speculative, kind of more interpretive kind of thing. But there's a certain group of people that decided to literal fact, just use the pun, take it as gospel, and it's very strange. It's like I don't know, man. It's like Jesus Christ. It's weird because if you look at the history of when Jesus was around, we're aware that the Romans are around at the same time, and King Herod, who's in the Bible, is an actual real king. We have records of him being the subject, the kind of what's it, proxy ruler of Judea at the time.
Yeah, he was like the regent.
Exactly. You know, and we actually have, you know, fucking history things, so we can understand the time that Jesus was around, and the things that Jesus was talking about at the time is really interesting, because it's very much of the time. It's very much of a kind of a revolutionary kind of mind as a time. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he wrote a book called Zealot, about Jesus Christ. I think it's called Zealot: The Life and Times of Jesus Christ, and it basically it dictates that one of his findings is that Reza Aslan is the guy. One of his findings is that
That's a banging name.
it's a fucking banging name, right? But he was he's a religious scholar. He used to watch it because there's two things. He used to watch a video of him being on Fox News just to see how people who have a confirmation bias react to a person who doesn't.
Yeah.
And his kind of insight into Jesus was that the word which they used the word thieves, if you translate it from the languages that it was at the time, is more of a kind of Mohazanary or treasonous vibe. And if you look at the things Jesus was saying, they're kind of directly contrary to Roman ideals at the time. So he may have been considered as a kind of revolutionary, Che Guevara kind of type character, as opposed to, again, whether he's a deity, we don't know. I mean, we can never know. But the kind of idea of the deity for those people, you know, we have Roman records that tell me if you do this crime, this is what. So we have those kind of things, man. But I don't know. It's interesting.
There was one thing I heard. It was where the wedding of brimstone hell came from. Jesus was with a few of his disciples, and what was they burned it, and he stopped, pointed and said, "You see that?" They're like, "Yeah." He said, "That is hell." And so they looked and went, "Oh shit! It's all rubbish. It's all embers and flame and fire and pain. That's how it's all like Dante's Inferno." But what he meant, as an interpretation I've been exposed to, you become nothing. You become disintegrated down. You become part of the soot and the ash, and you become part of the earth again. And that ash will then go off in the wind, and it will become part of the land again, and part of the earth, and all that sort of stuff. So it's very it's a clear example of how the absorption of pagan religion has been shown through that, because everything is interconnected. If we didn't get put in a fucking coffin, they dig a hole.
In a fucking hole.
Yeah, dig us in a hole, put her down there, done, and then 50 years,
100%.
and it's like, that's beautiful. It's amazing.
Can I tell you about one of my favourite philosophers?
Yeah.
You probably know him.
Go on.
His name's Diogenes. He's a very interesting guy.
His name's what?
Diogenes.
Okay.
So there's this one really famous line.
Something in the throat for a minute. I actually haven't heard that. Go on.
But he's a really famous. None of his work is transcribed because he's basically he's
It's like I still hear myself. But what's going on?
Oh, what are we gonna do, man?
I don't know, mate.
Maybe it's
I don't know what's happened because it was on like 50%. Oh, hang on.
Down.
Bitch, it's on 50%. Hang on. The mouse is there. Just Carol.
Right, he's a very famous philosopher. His name's Dion. None of his work is written. We're good.
We're good.
Why did that happen?
Yeah, that must be a weird thing.
The Hello there.
Alright, cool. I think that's done. Right, I want to get that out of the way. Cool.
The boys are back in town.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's a new toy for me, and I think it's overheated, and it's also just me getting used to it, you know?
Plus we are in the sun.
The big S.
The whole sun. Shout out to the Boy West Coast, man. You are a genius, man. I love everything you do. I really want to work with you. Shout out Love Less. Love Less Feet Boy West Coast.
You can reach Shaq at www.ShaquilleHowe.com.
Absolutely. I'm going to get that domain.
We're literally going to get when we leave here, aren't we?
The moment, Matt.
You good with the volume there? You okay?
Absolutely. I'm
happy
happy
with
with that.
Lovely.
Happy boy. What are we talking about? We were talking about the Greeks.
You were telling me about Diogenes.
Yeah, Diogenes is a cool dude, man.
Well, originally I thought you said Dionysus, and I love me some Dionysus.
He's the best, man.
Yeah,
God
man.
parties, man.
God of insanity and wine. Why not?
That's such a interesting dichotomy as well, because it's kind of like all the Greek gods have this weird kind of thing, like Poseidon, god of the oceans, but also fucking earthquakes.
Yeah, and horses and hurricanes.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is an interesting mix, because the hurricane is it called a hurricane because it's a tornado over water?
I think so, Matt. I think that's exactly
a
what it
tornado
is.
is just the land version.
I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
But he's interesting because obviously it's a blend of his domain and Zeus's.
100%.
I mean, yeah, Poseidon is my all-time favorite god of all time because Zeus is cool, but he's just so OP. He's the Superman of the Greek world, and you're like, eh.
Boring as fuck.
Yeah, whereas Poseidon, actually, he is all-powerful, but only in this one realm.
Hades is
So you're
an
there
interesting character as well.
man. Hades is so interesting.
Because he's got dichotomy as well. He's a god of death and also god of the underworld and god of also the
he's justice.
Just justice
and riches
as well.
You're right.
It's
Right.
really
He's got all the under the ore you mine on the wine stuff. I forgot as well that he's actually, because of how the Greek hierarchy worked, they did it on order of who was physically out and about, not who was born.
Oh shit.
So it was who was released and who was available. So the order of the hierarchy was done, and who came out of Cronus, as opposed to who came out of Gaia. No, not Gaia.
No, you're right, Gaia.
No, it's not Gaia. It's because Gaia and Uranus is
Gaia and Uranus get correct.
Rhea.
Look at that. We're Greek nerds, by the way.
Man.
Straight up. But yeah, man, I think that's
very interesting because Hades is technically he's the eldest.
Yeah, literally. But that's the thing. I think in terms of what we were talking about, kind of gods and God and stuff, I think the Greeks kind of got it down because they had that kind of dual nature. I think the nature of the Greek gods is more in line with the nature of our life than it is than the nature of kind of the Abrahamic gods. Kind of that kind of idea of having that God is undefinably good and he kind of battles against this thing called Satan, but then you kind of have to also put in your mind that Satan is also real and Satan is also created by God, but also kind of has equal power to God to make things shit in our lives. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, is Satan equal power to God then? Is his power level the same as fucking God's? It's very interesting in that thing. But the Greeks kind of had this thing where you didn't really have an evil god that was kind of the antithesis of everything. And even in the Norse religions, Loki isn't really
no, he's just a trickster.
He's just a fucking dickhead. And all the gods kind of do.
He's just a teenager just dicking around. Fair fucking play, mate.
Literally just a fucking dick.
Yeah, man.
And that's interesting, But the Greek gods kind of have this thing you got Zeus as a god of thunder, and thunder kills people, and the Greeks were aware of that.
Lightning.
Lightning, sorry, god of lightning. God damn it. He is the god of lightning, isn't he?
I mean, he is the god of thunder, but I was just correcting you on the fact that he said that thunder kills people, which it doesn't.
It doesn't. Thunder.
It makes dogs feel like they're gonna die.
It does make dogs feel like they're gonna die. That's the thing, man. I think that's interesting. That's an interesting. I think that what that makes more sense to me in terms of if I was to give my soul and my life to a god, I'd love to understand that God is fickle like humans, and you can get on the bad side of a god, and that God can ruin your life and kind of make everything shit for you, and rather than just being God loves me and I'm cool and he does good things for me. Why do you have cancer? That Satan guy, man, he's pesky dude. You can't. How can you?
Yeah, it's I brought his pizza late, so he gave it to me. You're what can you do?
He's shit, man. Nah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, he didn't like my delivery service, so
Do you know what I'm saying? I don't understand that.
Whereas if you're pissed off Aries or something, he'd be like, I'm gonna turn you into a goat.
100%. You're a goat now.
And that's also how the gods, they hated to ever share anything with humans. The Titans were the nice ones to humans because obviously they were oppressed by gods and they wanted to help this other creation.
Gave them fire.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Prometheus, your boy.
Shout out the boy. My guy.
Yeah, from where you are, mate. I'm sure
Thanks for the fire, dude.
you got good reception.
Do well, dude. Do well. Thank you for this. Thank you. Top guy. Top man.
Mate. Okay, I'll go talk to you after this because I've got an idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, imagine how the 2 points. So the one was like the gods. They didn't like giving things to people. So if they did, they somehow turn around, so it backfired on them.
Yes.
So like there was that guy who won. He beat, or he like achieved a contest or something, and he said to Zeus was like, fine, what do you want? He said, oh, make me immortal, and he went, done. So he made him immortal. So he lived like 900, but he got smaller and smaller over time until he turned into a cockroach, and then someone stepped on him.
Oh shit.
And you're like, oh shit.
Is this what I'm saying?
Because he was like, yeah, he was immortal, and they stood on him.
We did it. It's just that's the thing. It's like, I think
you didn't specify what your immortality was going to be.
I think that's the thing in life as well. Like you can ask for, like, if you were given £1 billion right now, that has that definitely has its upsides, but it also definitely has its downsides. You may be more likely to get robbed. You may be more likely for people to be envious of you or jealous of you, and that has an impact on you as well. And I think the idea of kind of a more Abrahamic religion of having this kind of this God that kind of is benevolently good and it is infallibly good. That's what he does is goodness. All he does is goodness. Nothing else he does is bad. You have this kind of understanding of kind of like, well, where did the bad stuff come from then? That has to come from God. If God is Alpha and Omega, it has to come from God, right?
Well, that's the creation about why does evil exist in the first place. Because if God 100%. Is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, then he created Satan, which he did, arguably, because he's one of the angels, and then he made him fall. So then people wouldn't blame. So people wouldn't blame God. They blame someone else.
This is the thing.
So shit, but then there's also the other argument is that you'd never know the value of good without knowing and experiencing or recognizing bad, 100%. Which I do agree with. That is a very valid argument.
It's a very valid argument, and that's the thing. It's like it's the idea of God is a very interesting kind of a very interesting kind of question, because you have to really think about what forms of God there are. You know, I think the Greeks, I think, have a more kind of if God is created if the kind of Christian or Abrahamic religions gods are created in the fashion of man. Why is God so profoundly straight? White is one thing, but profoundly like good. Like he is only good. Do you know any human who is only good?
No.
Even Mahatma Gandhi used the word kafirs, which is a racial slur against black people to describe us.
Yeah, he didn't like black people.
He didn't like us at all,
and
he had infallible goodness in him. He had some really good things that he was kind of espousing. Same as same as Churchill. You know, Churchill really helped. Really kind of was instrumental and kind of again not the only one. That's a kind of a big weird British myth. He's not the only one. The Russians paid for the World War II in blood, and that had lasting consequences.
Oh yeah,
lasting.
Well,
it's like fucking Lucy's great grandfather died in Stalingrad.
What, from the Germans or from the Russians?
Germans.
Oh, okay.
But he died in Stalingrad, you know, and the Russians paid for that. But what I'll say about Churchill is Churchill also orchestrated the Bengali genocide. You know, he also orchestrated that. So we have to kind of take that kind of good and bad kind of the dichotomy of man, the duplicity of man, you know, as a thing. But if God is created in our image, why isn't he like that? It'd be more interesting to have it'd be more understandable. I think it'd be more interesting to have a God. The Old Testament God kind of matches that more than the New Testament God. The New Testament God is kind of this kind of not overbearing, sorry, wrong word.
I mean, he's malicious.
Yeah, the Old Testament God
punishes.
He's
a fire and brimstone dude.
He has limits. He has or it. We're not on a gender God, but it has limits. It has you know, it has its breaking points. It rashly destroys kind of civilizations and stuff at will. It flexes its power. It's jealous. It doesn't want you to have any, like an actual person would be, you know, in that position. You know, if you were a king, you wouldn't want your subjects worshipping another king. Otherwise, you have no power. That makes sense to me. But then this idea of this kind of newfangled kind of romanticism or kind of evangelical kind of idea of God, of this kind of infallible goodness, it's like, but he says he's created in our image, so it has to be from him.
Hang on, I thought we were creating his image, not he was creating our image.
Well, I guess it's kind of both. But if you're omnipotent, because time doesn't mean anything. I guess.
True, because the argument is that everything happens at the same instant to him.
Yeah.
Which is it. Which then again, has the case of how can God have any interaction in anything, because
Exactly.
he'd do everything at the same time.
Exactly. Like, it's an interesting.
It doesn't. Objectively, if you take emotion out of it, it doesn't make sense to have a deity or a god or believe in anything.
No, not in terms of like in your life, day-to-day life.
It doesn't physically do anything. It's just
it's a comfort.
It's a comfort for sure. And religion inherently isn't bad. If some people without it would be either bad or they'd feel to be directionless, and of course it's a good thing. But what, to your point, I think the answer to that question is, why isn't he fallible? It's because you cannot follow a ruling construct if it has flaws. If there if for the purposes of control, the church went, right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this person be the idyllic that no one could ever reach. Therefore, they're always going to be striving, always going to be always going to be doing what they're told, not questioning shit. If there's this one high ideal that is impossible to achieve, they're never going to stop. They're never going to question.
100%.
So as a control mechanism, I think that's why.
That must be it.
I don't, because again,
lie down.
Yeah, you got to change this shit. Again, we can only take so much from what we're told and from what history tells us, but history is written by the victors. We don't know. I think we can safely say that this is not the original Bible.
Yeah.
But we don't know how far back we're talking. Is this 100 years? Is this 1,000? Is this 1750? Is this 1,750 years ago? This could be. The Bible we're following now could have been written in 1898.
Yeah, we don't know.
No one alive now is going to know.
100%. It's interesting, man. It's interesting because it's weird, because for some reason the Abrahamic religions have kind of emerged as the predominant religions in our lifetimes. If we were born 2,000 years ago, it would be the kind of Roman kind of pantheon, or 3,000 years ago the Greek.
I am so down for the Roman pantheon.
Straight up, dude. Like straight. The crazy thing is that the Romans ruled using that, and it kind of worked.
Yeah. Well, that's what again is amazing about like Rick Riordan, because all of his books, when he took the original series, awesome, and then did something that no one saw coming and made it better.
Yeah.
And
that's such a good spin-off.
Again, he just explains it like, yeah, this is what happened with the Roman Empire. They took what the Greeks did, went cool, and went, right, we're gonna make it functional. So Ares, instead of being this grand warrior who did all of these single sword bouts and all this flair, he became discipline, military might, power, ranks, the what's the tortoiseshell thing? The something or other, whatever.
Phalanx?
Tattooed.
Yeah, you're right.
Whatever. But yeah, so it's going to be order and discipline, and Athena, instead of being flair and skill and archery, became she became building and tactics and strategy. And so I think that's where the Romans did a fucking great job, in the fact they took something that was already there and then gave it a purpose, as opposed to just being this god. What did he do? He's over there somewhere.
Did you know that the Romans dabbled in a monotheistic religion at the end of the empire?
It was the worship of the sun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a weird god. I can't remember what his name is. I think he's like born from like the egg of a bull or something like that, and it's like he became like, it was like a cult in the end of the Roman Empire. But they dabbled with it, and I think
you sure there isn't Romulus? You're talking
about? No, because Romulus and Remus were like the founders, but I don't think they were.
They found in Rome.
Yeah, I don't think they were deified. I'm not too sure, but I think I want to say it's not Dio. That's fucking JoJo's. Fuck, what was his name? Can't remember what his name is, but now, yeah,
because I know Hitler did one which was a sun god.
Yes, he did.
But no, I didn't know him about a thing. I thought it was just the sun they did for a while. Like
they dabbled with it, and it was I can't remember his name. Mithras. They dabbled with Mithras at the end, near the end of the empire. He's a cool dude, man. I think he comes from a Persian kind of thing, but like it's interesting. Like the Romans, it's just wondering, like, because those systems of religion, kind of the Abrahamic religions, and then the kind of the Norse ones, and kind of the periods of times we go through in kind of our kind of area, kind of Europe, in that kind of respect. Those religions definitely must have had some kind of positives, It definitely must have had some kind of that would have helped build these nations in the thing, and those kind of things seep through to our kind of our core values,
Well, that's what I think was different about like the Roman one, because it was more of a personal thing. It was more of a quiet reflection, as opposed to going to church, because they didn't go to church. They had like the fucking bin there. I can't remember the It's not. They had the Pantheon. So you had like the celebration and stuff there, but it wasn't. It's not like churches we have now, or like the Roman Catholic ones they built afterwards, sort of like glorifying God. It was the ones that they took as their warlike ones were like little shrines you'd have, like you'd carry them around with you. You'd like before you go into battle, you'd be like, you'd rub it or whatever. Yeah. Or you'd wake up in the morning, wash your hair, kneel, pray to Athena, or if you were a Hephaestus or whatever you were doing, Dionysus if you worked in the vineyards. I think it's just
100%.
Yeah, sort of personal things.
Your personal god that took care of you.
Yeah, and they were really, I think they were really, they nailed it because they were fucking aspirational. Because, and as you said, they weren't. They were like the epitome of the highest ideals for that particular person. Yeah. Complete with their flaws as well. Yes. Because like you had like Athena, who was stern and intelligent and wise and a great warrior, but she was also very aloof. She was very indifferent towards people. She was arrogant. Poseidon, he was a weirdo, really powerful, loved the sea, but he was by himself all the time.
Strange dude. Yeah. Hades has obviously suffers from a lot of loneliness in the thing.
Yeah,
like,
but he
kidnaps his wife.
But he has wealth and he's fair in judgment as well. 100%. So I think they are the. Which I'm just like realising now, they are probably the idyllic pantheon of deities to aspire to, because 100%. they are the greatest extrapolation of human endeavour possible, complete with the flaws that will come along with humanity and with those attributes as well.
100%, 100%.
Zeus, power of the sky, greatest of all gods, ridiculous arrogance.
100%.
Which makes sense.
Just randomly sleeping with people's wives and like causing calamity on humans all the time.
Dude, he fucking like I remember like reading how Athena was born, where he was like. He went after his nanny who raised him, and she was like, when he was fully grown, it was his wedding day. He'd married Hera, went after his nanny, who was like, nah, you can't do that. So she flew away. So he turned into a bigger bird, flew after her, caught her, then had sex with her, and then afterwards there was like, you want to play another game? She was like, what? And he was like, I bet I can get like smaller than you. And she was like, oh, now I can do better. So she turned into like a worm. He turned into a bird, ate her. She like sat inside him. Like 20 years later, she built Athena and kicked him out of his head.
That's so.
And you're like, what the fuck?
It's so strange, isn't it? It's really strange. It's a strange.
Yeah, all the stories are just batshit crazy, but they're so interesting.
It's like the fucking Egyptian stories of like Horus coming on lettuce and shit, and like that. It's just weird. It's like a weird. It's weird, but I like that because there's weirdness in humanity, but there's not much weirdness in the idea of how God is described in the Bible. Or
yeah, it's mad.
He's like a perfect like. These are my rules. Do these things in the Old Testament, and then when you don't do these things, I destroy you.
Well, then here's the question: then why is it that something like that, where you got this all omnipotent, crazy, unreachable person or ideal, has survived more than these realistic, multifaceted pantheon of deities?
I really think it's because of the structure of Christianity. Like, it's the actual constructs that kind of the things that come along with it kind of make for. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal tool to kind of it's a phenomenal tool. It really outlines it outlines because in the kind of ancient Greek kind of days or the Roman days, the idea of kind of killing your fellow man is kind of not really it's not a big deal. It is what it is. Like I killed this dude and it's kind of like, all right, you broke the laws of the land, you may go to prison or you may face death or whatever. But it's not like the gods themselves are going to destroy you for doing that. But Christianity outlines clearly. God says, "Don't kill anyone. Do not commit murder," and that's it. That's the law. So now, if you're a person, if you're a person in the community, there's kind of the burgeoning community of kind of ancient Jews or kind of an early Christians, you kind of had this thing going, okay, maybe we shouldn't kill each other then. Like, okay, then we don't kill each other, and now we can prosper. I personally believe the idea of kind of the anti-gay kind of passages in the Bible are purely in terms of building a population. I believe that's purely a measure against population control.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
because if you're gay, theoretically you can't really produce, especially in those times, you can produce a child, and that kind of led to a situation of kind of there's a lot of things in the Bible that preach kind of restraint, which is kind of flies in the face of the kind of Roman opulence of having a meal and vomiting it up. So you kind of got these structures which allow you to kind of really as a people progress, kind of not really about the God, but the kind of the things that the rules and the structures allow you to really push yourself, like the idea of kind of capitalism, kind of flies in the face of what Christ was talking about. But
I know here's interesting about that. Sorry to interrupt.
That's cool.
Well, here's interesting about that is because you say it allows them to progress. I agree. I agree with that. I think that's why. Well, I think I agree with the structure. I think the reason that this survived more than the Roman one is part, ignoring Rome's own decadence, which was his own downfall. The fact that where the Roman gods was quiet introspection that you did by yourself, this was this massive congregation organised, and it gives one driving force, and this is what you've got to do, and
100%.
you slave all the stuff, and you're rewarded in light, in your death, and all that sort of stuff. Whereas the Roman one was like, if you do these things, your life is great as it is,
Exactly.
and then if you are still great, you will have a better life when you're gone. But what was interesting as well is I don't agree saying that's going to give progression, because people Galileo, Michelangelo, no, not Michelangelo, but Galileo, and obviously had to rebel against the
executed by the church.
Yeah, he had to risk his life just to give us the precious things we have now.
100%.
So he rebelled against that.
I think that the point of progression I'm talking about is from kind of ancient kind of Jewish settlers, or not Jewish settlers is the wrong word, ancient Jewish kind of people, the ancient people of Judea, let's say. These kind of rigid structures allowed them to thrive, and now we've got to a point where that kind of curve is kind of beginning to bottom out now. But we're not going to get much progression from following a kind of the structures and rules from there. So I think maybe you've got 2,000 years of straight flourishing, and now it's kind of petered out.
Do you think that is because we haven't got that oppression of a religious monotheism to rebel against?
I think it's because our system, our kind of the other kind of ideas that have come through, kind of we're now beginning to talk about philosophy and the Enlightenment period, where people are beginning to question things a bit, and kind of like you got Mary Shelley questioning the idea of where is life created, and is that possible? Kind of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is really kind of what we're doing right now with AI. We're really starting to kind of having those questions about it. We're getting close to being a race, the first race to create another race.
Yes.
And that poses questions that cannot be answered by the Bible. They can't.
Well, we have been labelled as the sex organs of the machine.
100%. We are producing. We're able to produce things now that we potentially may never have been able to do before, and that's a profoundly strange kind of area of life to be in.
It's completely unique. I mean, besides whatever created us,
100%. Whether you believe in seven day creationism and God created Adam and Eve.
Good old Adventists.
You know what I'm saying? No, if you believe in that, then that's what you believe in. I can't stop you from believing it. But whether you believe in that, or you know evolution to be true, or everything like that.
Well, we don't even know evolution to be true. It's the most logical and likely.
It's the most logical explanation, yeah.
But we don't know. You can probably count in your hands the things you fucking know in life. The rest of it is just what is the most likely.
100%. But that those kind of structures, I think, like, yeah, man, I think we're beginning to go into an era of time where it's the questions that the Bible answered for us 2,000 years ago, or the Torah or the Quran answered for us. We're now beginning to pose questions that weren't possible to think about now. And now we're starting to really go, okay, so we understand. So you kind of got this understanding of God creating kind of the universe and everything like that. And now we kind of get thinking, we're looking into the sky and looking at telescopes and going, how are stars made? How do planets form? What's going? And those questions can't be answered by the Bible by just going, God did it. In 7 days, He did that. You can't answer that question that way, and we know now that can't be true. So what we can say now is we can go to the Bible and say, okay, that was a more interpreting kind of thing from that thing. That's the way they perceived it. But we need to answer these questions. And what do we do when we meet an alien? If we meet an alien life form and they have no concept of what our God is, and they maybe have their own structures, or maybe they don't even have the idea of religion. Or
I think the fact that if there's an alien, it just completely destroys monotheistic religion. I'm just like, nah.
Because that's the thing. The great thing
I'm like, that doesn't make no. It just if there's proof of alien life, I'm like, yeah, that's been life.
But that's the thing. The easiest argument to have now, though, is say an alien lands right in this park, right there, goes, bleep, 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 I'm an alien. Blah, 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 blah. There's a certain part of type of sect of Christianity in particular that will just go, well, God made you, and they'll just go, if they can speak.
I can't fucking. No.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's that kind of confirmation bias of going, well, I know God created everything.
It's cognitive dissonance.
Exactly, like, God created everything, so He must have created you, and like we can't go into.
You're like, right, okay, but how you said you made man in His own image, and you had all of this. Why would you're like so? He made this earth in 7 days, and is the only ones. There's no other celestial beings. There's no other life forms or anything else. So we're the only ones. Yeah. Well, if you made that, oh yeah, you made that as well. You're like, okay, so now you're saying that. So
now we're doing that.
It's just. This is where I can't get on board it, because if you're espousing your beliefs like that, you'll just, because again it's faith. You can't really argue against it, because you can't use logic against someone who believes in faith, because it's just whatever you see or say, you can just say, oh yeah, he made it. That's all you have to say, and you can be like, okay, I'm done.
100%, and that's
I'm done.
And that's the thing, because I think it's interesting, that kind of dichotomy, because it's what can you can't say anything to them, because that's just what they believe, and fair play, that's what you believe, that's cool, but we need to ask ourselves then the same question: if humans create AI, are we their gods?
That's a damn good question.
You know, are we their gods? We created them out of nothing.
Yeah, interesting.
You know,
interesting.
And then how does Christianity and other kind of forms of religion then talk about that then?
Well, their argument would be, just playing devil's advocate, they would say, oh, well, yeah, but it's not sentient life.
That's the thing. Like, what do you describe as sentient life?
Mm-hmm.
What do you even?
How is AI not sentient?
100%.
Yeah. Well, AI is a scary, it kind of is and kind of isn't a scary thing itself. I think we're scared of it because we've seen Terminator too many times.
Yeah.
And
but were they AI? That's the question.
No, they weren't.
Were they AI?
No, the Terminators were not.
The Skynet
was. So the Terminators themselves had a mission parameter, and then they had a certain adaptability to circumstances, so they could, assume different forms and imitate voices. But you're right, they weren't free thinking automatons. But yeah, Skynet was, yeah.
Boston Dynamics, you need to stop. I'm just letting you know.
Have you seen their fucking backflips and shit?
It's super worrying.
It is. I was like, is this a dude in a suit? I was like, what the fuck?
Literally, it's like, buddy.
It's like doing it's like doing free running. You're like, you look like James Kingston. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, literally, bro.
On?
Like, that's the thing. That kind of stuff is a bit worrying, but
it's pretty scary.
It's like my main concern is that if we do create AI, what limitations and bounds are we going to put on them? Are we going to follow Asimov's 3 laws of robotics?
Yeah.
Because that is in my opinion, that would be it would be hypocritical for me as a black person to advocate anything other than the complete freedom of all AI. And whether they take
but then again, the question is it comparable? Because
I think it is.
You are a person, and that's something that we've made out of steel and electricity and wire. There's no flesh and blood. There's no soul. Is the argument?
But we don't even know what the soul is. We can't extract it.
We can't wait. It was like fucking Inferno with Dan Brown when he found the soul, and you're there like,
what is that?
You're like, wait, did you ever read that book?
No, I need to read it.
Was it Inferno? No, it wasn't Inferno. It was The Lost Symbol. It was basically like this dude was gonna die, so he was like, I'll volunteer for the experiment. He's dying of old age, so he got on these scales in this book and measured everything in this booth. Sorry, and so he was like, all right, so there. So he died, and they were like, oh, and then 10 seconds later, he lost 20 kilos of weight, and you're like, again, I know it's fiction, but you're like, come on, Dan, you've got some great ideas, mate. This is bullshit.
If your soul is 20 kilos,
why is your
heavy ass soul?
Why does your soul weigh that much? I'm like, what the fuck?
So much fucking.
I'm like, dude, no wonder. You're like, dude, no wonder it's hard for people to exercise.
Literally, bro, fucking hell. You need to lose your soul, bro.
But even then, I was like, okay, so then can you exercise your soul? So can you, So I weigh a certain amount. My weight can go up and down. Can your soul's weight go up and down?
Oh, that's so crazy.
I'm like,
he's got a fucking super brolicked, fucking jacked soul.
Yeah, I'm like
50 kilos.
Dude, you got some great books. This wasn't one of them. I was like, what is going on?
That's crazy. But that's the thing. I don't know, man. I think if humans produce AI, I think we can't. I think there's a certain type of people that will take that as being we are God now. Yeah. And they will rain complete tyranny upon these AI that we create.
Yep.
And that will then lead to because you can't have tyranny without a revolt. There's no system that has terrorized people that hasn't had some kind of revolt or kind of action levied against it. So that will cause a complete downfall of humanity. But treating them as our equals and not as our gods, but as these things we've created, that may give us some preferential treatment in terms of they may view us as kind of with some reverence. And I don't think that's unnormal, but I think it's unnatural. Sorry, I think it's, but I would think it would be hypocritical to kind of stymie them and kind of keep them pegged back from us because we're afraid that we're not as intelligent. We have these stupid weird monkey brains inside of us, and if we're able to create something that doesn't have that, maybe we should just let it do its thing.
Well, with the fear of the AI thing is again because of Terminator, because of the
Matrix,
War of the Worlds and Matrix, is that for some reason they're gonna resent us, or they're gonna use their artificial intelligence and be right. We're a machine, so we are gonna find the most efficient way to do things. You guys have been super inefficient, so let's start getting rid of you, or let's start changing things, let's start locking you up. Which I'm there like, the machines have got a point. We are super inefficient.
We're so inefficient.
To your point about them seeing us as gods, there was this quote I heard the other day, and I was just like, fuck me. It said that humanity, we are gods, but for the wisdom.
Explain, man. Explain.
So, well, Hiroshima for one. So we have the power to destroy our planet.
Lives.
We have the combined power to destroy our planet. That is beyond biblical.
That is fucking biblical. That's fucking crazy
but
shit.
But we haven't got the wisdom to use it right, which is because we have fucking used it. And they're like, that's right. And you look at Pacific Ocean garbage patch. You look at us fucking now with COVID bullshit. These fucking idiots that are in charge of our nation, our world at the minute.
Big gov.
Fucking morons.
Big boss.
Dumb people. It's these people just in charge of it, and it's like, we have all this power. Like, I'm sure, I can't imagine it's hard for any world leader who has access to nukes to press a button. He's like, what codes are there today? All right, done. It will take him 10 minutes, I'm sure.
100%.
It shouldn't be that easy.
It shouldn't be that easy to wipe
it
people
should
off the face of the earth.
It should take you months to be able to set a nuke off, whoever you are.
This is why I'm super anti-gun, man. Like, super anti-gun.
Okay, go on.
It's like, I feel like taking a human life or taking a life should never be easy, whether it's for hunting, whether it's for war, whether it's for self-protection. It should never be easy, I think, because I get the kind of the arguments of kind of using like a gun for self-defense. I get that, but at the same time, if I kill a person, how easy do I want that to be?
So gun-wise, I don't really care either way. As you know, I like a good bow. So that, I think, it's the kind of thing that you're not going to use against a human, because there are guns out there, and you know it's and it's very clunky and it's slow, and you can see that coming a mile off. I think a bow is more ethical for like hunting purposes, so it's a practical reason. The gun side of thing, I don't know. I like the idea of it in the same way that a kid likes the idea of a gun, because it's a cool toy, it makes loud noise, and it means you can shoot shit. So I like the idea of it being like a target practice style, but you get some people who are, like concealed carry permits and shit like that. It's interesting. I don't know.
I just think like the idea of kind of two armies going to war in like the Middle Ages. You got some swords, you got some bows and arrow. You're fighting for your king and your country, and whether you want to fight for your king, that's kind of that's another conversation. But you have to get up and close to a man and really to kill him.
Yeah.
The idea of guns, you can now depersonalize that person. Be like, oh, those are the Germans. Let's just shoot them.
Yeah.
Like, they're not like people. Like, in the idea of having a battle where you're in the front line of the thing and they're going to charge at you and you're probably going to die. That kind of idea, it comes like, I wonder how it kind of scares me a bit how easy it is to depersonalize a person, so that it's super easy to kill. And then the method of killing them is also super easy. You just got to squeeze this little button and that guy goes away.
Mate, but take that to the extreme of that fucking drone strikes.
That is fucking like you shouldn't be able to be in like a Pentagon office.
It shouldn't be allowed.
Flying a drone over Afghanistan and just picking off families.
It should never have been fucking created. Never.
If
you're gonna have either have a plane, so someone is in it, or you have a drone that has no offensive capabilities.
100%.
So just for recon
Just for
purposes.
recon.
Yeah.
It's the thing.
It's not, and then you've seen them, and we've got friends of ours who are in the military, and they haven't done it, but they know what it's like.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's literally a dude in a booth with a fucking Xbox controller, and you're like, are you joking? It's like, mate, you could have literally been playing a game, which we do, but it's a game. But it's like it's so fucked up. It's 100%. So fucked up completely.
I really believe if it was easier to kill a person, if the easier it gets to kill people is the easier we can go to war, is what I think. I think it was easy in like the 2000s for our government and the US government and the French government in parts to kind of go, those Iraqis have got some weapons we don't like. One,
they don't.
Who gives a fuck? Like, one.
Two,
like,
they didn't.
One, yeah, two, they didn't. But one, the biggest point is, what right did you have to go in there as a sovereign nation to take that away from them? They're a sovereign nation. So what rights did you have to take that away from them? You know?
And what stops them from doing the same thing to us, or someone else doing it to us?
Exactly, because we fought.
But it's like, oh no, it's us though.
No, we're the good guys.
Exactly.
But to them, you're the bad guys. Like,
yeah, it's no different.
I think if it was a matter of if we still had fucking swords and bows and stuff,
oh, mate, I'd advocate that all day long.
100%. But it'd be very hard for you to sell to your soldiers. You've got to go and hand-to-hand combat in the big kind of melees. You've got to kill these guys, and you've got to really figure out why you're doing it. And it's not just because you're being paid well. That means our soldiers would have to be paid exponentially more than what they would, and it would be way harder for our governments to kind of justify. Yeah, we're going to fly a few dudes over there. Just like were you in my English class when we watched Fahrenheit 9/11? Okay, for anyone who hasn't watched it, watch Fahrenheit 9/11. It's a Michael Moore film. It's his precursor to the one that he did now, which is 11/9 on Netflix, which isn't very good. But Fahrenheit 9/11 is basically the story of the Iraq War and how we got there. And there's a shot that I cannot ever forget in my life. I'll never forget it. It scarred me a bit. I was probably 14 at the time, and it's a US destroyer off the coast of what's the capital of Iraq? Baghdad. I think it's they had missiles on that was able to fire over. So all the US did in the first few days of the war is they put like 12 destroyers and just pumped fucking ammunition, and you can just see it. It sounds like fireworks. Just launching missiles after missiles after missiles of thing, and then it cuts to this video of a mother holding half a baby, and I just went, none of this can be right. It couldn't be that easy.
So fucking detached, isn't it?
It's so detached. They didn't even see them.
There's a you could have been aiming at a tree. There's a famous general called Smedley Butler who wrote the book War is a Racket in 1933. So he served in World War One, and he basically was he was a 2-star general or something. But he was because it's World War One, it was like their first offensive as out of their nation.
Yeah.
So all of his command, all of them, they were down with their men in the front lines and everything, and they were like, "This is horseshit," because they were like the last, because at the same time with the British Army, they were just used to putting down like people armed with like spears and shit. So they were like. So the commanders and generals were like, yeah, we're just gonna sit over here and you deal with it, come back, whatever. Whereas like the US ones, they'd never had an actual war outside their country before that point. So they were like, yeah, we're gonna get involved, we're gonna do everything properly, perfectly. So they acquitted themselves incredibly then. And so he was one of those in a unique position to be like, he knew all the politics behind it, he knew all that stuff because he was a 2-star general. But also he was down in the trenches with his boys. And so he came back and he was like, nah, fuck this, never again.
That's
And he wrote a book called War is a Racket. He's basically saying that, if the people who decide to go to war are never ever the ones who are actually in it, and he's saying that if they want to do it, then so whoever is advocating go to war, a member of their family has to go.
Yeah, that you see
see how much they want to go.
I was
like, that's incredible. Anyone who advocates it, their daughter, their son, their brother, their cousin has to go.
I always think about that.
I was like, that is, if they employ that, people are never fighting again.
Think about it.
People are never fighting again.
You can't. How was Donald Trump able to dodge the draft for Vietnam?
Oh, he had a cold. He stubbed his toe.
Do you know what his thing actually was?
It was like a
bone
cold
spurs. He had bone spurs in his ankles or something like on his feet. And then when asked a few years later, which leg was it he had bone spurs in, he couldn't tell you. So Daddy Trump, Big Fred Trump, got him off basically from going to war. There's another famous political commentator in America called Ted Nugent. And I'm telling you this story. Yeah,
Teddy boy.
Ted Nugent shat himself to get out of the Vietnam War. I'm just saying it straight up. There's evidence. He continuously, not once, continuously shat his pants. Yeah, so they were like, this guy's insane, and he obviously has no, he doesn't have the mental fortitude to be a soldier. Yeah, and that's how he dodged the draft. But he's hella for the Second Amendment, hella for going for war with Iran.
I know.
So going in, if he had, these people are not built for the actual job of declaring war on X nation or X person, and they've not thought it through. Tony Blair didn't think through the Iraq war and had no. It's like, man, like, how can you?
I was talking to Joe about it the other day. I called. What was that? I think I was. We had the stabbings the other day. I think a couple of days later.
Rest in peace.
I was literally. The dude came into work the other day who knew all of them. And I was
really?
like,
fuck, man.
So he was talking about it. I was like, I could see him like joking. I was like, dude, you just got to stop. And he was like, yeah, no, I appreciate it. I was like, fuck. But I was on the phone to him and his missus, Joe and his missus, and Lauren was like, yeah, if I was there or something, I would have hit him. I can't remember if it was a stab. It might not have been the stabbing. It might have been like one of the protests or something. I don't know, whatever. And she was like, yeah, I would have hit him. And me and Joe were like, nah, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't have.
I was like, Lauren, what you got to realise right now is, out of the three of us, you're the only person who does not understand violence.
No, yeah.
Out of the three people on this call, you're the one advocating for
the
it.
violence. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, the people who know what violence is and how to do it do not talk about it.
100%.
They do not talk about it
because it should be always. It's like if you're.
You should be able to do it, but you should never want to do it.
100%. It's like again, like a kind of a really general, like kind of playing it down, but it's like, say you're in a bar. I've been there, but you've been in a bar with your girlfriend or with a girl, and then she starts mouthing off a little bit, and then the guy that she's mouthing off at is looks at you. He doesn't look at her. He looks at you and he goes, "Oh, you control her," or whatever. Thing like some real sexist shit, like control your women or some bullshit like that. And you have to sit down and go, we have three options now. I could either just leave this and kind of and act like it doesn't bother me, or kind of thing, or move from the situation, or we can fight. I don't want to fight this guy in this situation. No, even if I think I can take him, I don't want to do that.
Especially, I'd say especially
if you can take them,
because I don't want to accidentally kill him.
100%.
Because it's not even. It's never ever. There's nothing I could directly do to him that's going to kill him. I don't know what he's going to fall into. I don't know who's going to bump into him. I don't know if he's going to hit his head on the floor. I don't know what's going to happen.
To my mum's friend's son. Exact same thing happened. Got punched in the head and he died immediately. Fuck. Like it's one of those things. Like it's like you should never be able to. You should never be the person who's. If you're calling for violence all the time, you need to really think about yourself. And would I? Can I fight? Can I fight? Is that the right thing to do? Is there another way around the situation?
Yeah.
We could have levied so many more economic sanctions on Iraq. We could have spoken to our partners in the Middle East. We could have.
They could have boycotted the whole thing. Bulwarked it.
We could have done loads of shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't even understand why we went into Iraq in the first place, because that was a response to the
it was a good holiday, you know.
It was top holiday. All the lads, like, it's just one of those things. Like, it's just like, bro, like, fuck. It's just one of those things that you have to really think about and kind of go like, was Tony Blair ever? I feel like Tony Blair in his prime versus me in like an octagon. Yeah, I'd fuck Tony Blair up. So why is he calling for?
Dude,
war?
I'd pay for that.
I'd fucking.
I'd back you all the way. That sounds sick,
bro. I'd fuck him up, bro. Like,
yeah, I'm up for that.
I'm hard, but he's a very small, bookish man.
Yeah,
like, well, not
he's
small.
He's a fucking accountant.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, it's like you should never have been. You, for one, should never have been the man to go. Oh, our boys in the US are going, and let's go in. Let's spill some British. So many British soldiers were killed in that war that you have to sit down and go. Why wouldn't you there? What did we get out of that?
Yeah,
it's a response to September 11th. The 9/11 attacks. We go into Iraq. I think it's 3 years later or 2 years later.
It's next year, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was 11 Saudi people were on that plane. They primarily came from Saudi Arabia, but we sell the shit. They sell us a shit ton of oil,
and we sell them a shit ton of guns,
sell a shit ton of guns. And
actually, to be fair, not us, the Western
civilization. No, we do. We sell hella guns to Saudi Arabia.
I didn't know we made guns in this country.
Yeah, we sell bare
shit.
Do we? Bare shit.
Shit. Is it?
We're the fifth biggest economy in the world. We sell hella shit to Saudi Arabia.
Okay, because
there's
is it just like munitions? Do we sell the actual firearms?
I think we sell everything.
Oh,
I think the US sells way more, but we sell hella shit to Saudi Arabia. There's a motion in parliament now to kind of limit that amount because of the Yemen crisis. Also, in Yemen, the US backed and UK backed people are murdering people every day. Forces in Yemen are murdering Yemenis every single day. We should never forget that. Our government is complicit and responsible for that. Yeah. But the US government is also complicit and responsible. But that's an aside. But we never ever punished the Saudis for. We never say that Saudi Arabia is a terror state or an exporter of terror like we do about Iran or Iraq or anything like that. But there were more Saudis on that plane than any other nationalities. And again, this isn't any anti-Saudi bias or anything like that. But it's the way we speak about things. It's very convenient to go, oh, those Iraqis have some weapons of mass destruction. We should go in there and pop a few clogs and clean a few clocks and get everything all sorted. But the Saudis employed the Bin Laden family to build construction and stuff like that. They fostered him for a few years as well while he was espousing his religious beliefs. Now, I'm not advocating for any kind of racial kind of discrimination against the Saudi any Saudi people or anything like that. But it's important that when we talk about if we're in the effort of being consistent, we need to also make the caveat and say that, do you know what, Saudi Arabia may have a problem with terrorism or Wahhabism, and we need to equally treat them the same way that we treat about. It's just very convenient. It's just very, very convenient. It's like all that kind of lead up to in the early beginnings of end of 2019 and beginnings of 2020 with Iran. When everyone's going, oh yeah, did you watch the news at that point in time?
Very vaguely.
It was deeply strange watching our media kind of going, yeah, or the American media and kind of global media going, yeah, let's saddle up, boys, go right back in, clean a few clocks, wet a few whistles, in and out, bish bash bosh, replace the regime. This is Iran. They are protected on all sides by mountain ranges, so it's not like you can land or just launch things. It won't work. Yeah. So the same tactics as Iraq will never work in Iran. Their military, I think, is either 10 or 4 times bigger than Iraq, but bigger than Iraq's. Yeah. And it's 100% more equipped because they've been dealing with Saudi Arabia for the whole time. Yeah. There's a Cold War in the Middle East between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and they've never really kind of come to blows actually in kind of open combat, but they fight in places like Yemen and Jordan and other places and stuff like that, and that's kind of the way that they do it. It's exactly the same way that the US and the Russians did with Afghanistan. Exactly the same way.
Yeah.
But our media was gearing up, like the American media was gearing up to send their brave troops who decide to lay down their lives, for their country. They believe in it that much, It's their job. Their job is to protect their country. Gearing up to send them to a place like Iran, telling them, honestly, guys, it's gonna be easy, no problem. So easy. That was what they were saying. Easy stuff. Easy. No problem at all. This is fucking Iran. This is Iran. I don't doubt that the US would be able to, or a US-backed coalition would be able to destroy Iran. The blood loss it would take would be unfathomable. Our coalition beat Iraq in about 30 days. That's when George Bush did his, mission accomplished kind of thing on that. Right. That's what he did. He said, with 30 days in, we destroyed the shit out of Iraq, and we did everything like that. We were then there for 10 more. We were then there for years afterwards, trying to rebuild or America was there primarily to rebuild that country so it was more suitable for their needs. Iran has a lot more oil, but it's far more defended, and also it's the American kind of meddling in Iran that caused the current political climate that they have there already. They tried to put in the Shah, who was the king of Iran at the time, and the Shah was overthrown by oh my god, what's his name? What's his title? Khomeini. Abdullah Khomeini? No, it's not Abdullah Khomeini. I can't remember what his name is now. No, his name is Khomeini. I can't remember what his name is, but he is he's the supreme leader of Iran. Right. And US actions put him in there, And now they're trying to go, this guy's crazy, man. Like this guy's acting wild, man. We need to go sort him out, buddy. Like this guy's like,
what the
this guy's going crazy, man. This guy's going fucking mad. Like, wow, boys, we get in there. It's been like just like Saddam, man. Get in and out, 30 days, sort him out. He's not. It's just not the same. It's not the same. And it was very interesting watching our whole media apparatus kind of just side along with our government and go, what's that? If Trump sent his sons, or if Trump had to go, Trump is a war dodger in the beginning. We should never be, as you said, violence should never be used. If violence is the last resort,
not never, but
not
last
never.
resort.
Yeah, last resort. It should be the thing that ends the conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not how you fucking start.
It's not how you start a conversation.
Yeah, Jesus
it's not
Christ.
how you start the fucking conversation.
Yeah.
Like, you have a person who doesn't understand violence in the first place, and is in every respect a fucking pussy, bro. Like, he's absolute. You dodged. I'm not saying that dodging the drop. Not saying that being a conscientious, because Muhammad Ali conscientiously objected for moral reason for Vietnam.
Yeah,
I get that.
That's different.
That's different to
and
dodging the
that
draft.
A world champion fighter,
Exactly.
as opposed to some rich prick.
Some rich prick got his daddy to write a letter to the thing. Said, I've got bone spurs. What bones? What feet have you got bone spurs in, Donald? I don't know. Maybe my right. I don't know. Maybe my left. Well, it says you had it on your left there, Donald. Are you sure? Yeah, definitely that one. Like, that is that kind of. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that. He should never be the person with the button.
No,
he should never be the person with the button.
No, but again with him, he just proved. I don't know what his motivations are, but the end result was he proved how bullshit the system is. They have a fucking game show host in charge of a very powerful country.
They have enough nuclear weapons to end the universe, end the whole shit, to wipe humanity off the face of, like, to literally wipe humanity off the face of all history.
Yeah,
to render us completely mute. You know, and he's a draft dodger, and he's a person who doesn't understand violence, doesn't understand consequences, because he's never had to face a consequence.
Of course not.
Never had to face a consequence.
Money will fix everything, and he's got unlimited money.
He's got unlimited money, you know. His dad sorted out his things. There's a new book I need to read. It's Mary Shelley's Trump biography. Mary Trump. His niece basically did a kind of documentary about her uncle.
Niece. Ooh.
Yeah, and she was basically saying that, like, there's a lot of shit in our family that, like, kind of, she basically spilled the family secrets and stuff, and was basically saying that Trump has a Fred Trump's treatment of his son. Fred basically chose Donald to be the heir and bred him for such, but not in the same way that you would bred like a prince, where you kind of teach him the balances of things. These are the consequences of things. He said, this is business. We make money, so you do anything in your power to make money as and when and how you do things. And it basically broke Donald Trump's ability to understand emotion. So what she's basically saying is that he doesn't get it. Did you watch the it was on Rogan, but Penn Teller was talking about meeting Trump, and he said that Donald Penn Teller, what's his name is? He's a really famous magician, guy with a ponytail.
Oh yeah.
He did a thing on Rogan, a little segment I watched, and it was one of the funniest on the JRE. He did a really interesting take, and he said Donald Trump has never laughed at a joke. He's never found that funny. Like, you can't be like joke, and he's like ha ha ha. He laughs at you in a bullying way. He laughs at you, you look really fat, ha ha ha. That's what he finds funny. He finds, but he's never laughed at a joke, and he doesn't get it. He's never read. He doesn't get it.
He doesn't read even. Yeah.
So fundamentally, you're talking to a person that cannot compute human emotions and doesn't understand violence. So he goes, "Let's go and fucking blow. Why can't we just blow these fucking guns up?"
Yeah, because he's not. He has no emotions. Yeah.
No real
shit.
No real that part of you.
There's no empathy, no compassion.
It's just money.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
why money cause and effect.
That's why he's able to say crazy shit about his daughter, about how he wants to, like, I think if I could work my daughter, I'd be dating her.
I would say sex, but What do you have in common? Sex. Like, what
are you fucking talking about?
What have you just said? Yeah.
That is. What are you talking about?
So either he's a Freudian slip, saying that he wants to boner, or he's basically admitted that he is the new Rodrigo Borgia.
100%. He's like, I'm boning everything, bro. Like,
yeah.
I
watch my kids bone each other. You're like, what are you? What are you saying?
What are you talking about?
But equally, it's that fucking bullshit where he can just say it, and people are like, what? And then something else happens, and they're like, what? And it's just on and on and on.
And
so
that's the thing that Fred apparently has taught him is the
you
idea
you never stand still. You never let them get you.
Yeah, and that was the only big thing that I think from my readings about Trump is that he innovated from Fred, was that Fred wasn't a big advocate of the media. Wasn't a really big kind of
right.
wasn't really. He kind of thought that when Trump was doing all these interviews and stuff about him kind of taking over and everything like that, and that Trump was kind of being a bit of a he kind of thought of his son was a bit of a wimp and a bit not really serious, and that he was just dabbling in shit that wasn't, because Fred is a construction genius. Fred Trump is actually a smart man.
He's still alive?
Dead as hell.
Oh, thank God for that. I saw a picture of him the other day. I was like, what the? What's up with his head, man?
But Fred Trump was caught at a KKK rally. So
yeah, man.
It's what it is.
He's got to do something on a Friday evening. Come on.
But he was a person who really invested in real estate. Really thought about it. Really kind of deliberated on it. And he's an intelligent man in terms of business in real estate. But Donald Trump was more enamored with the bright lights and the media, and he basically began to use the media as a tool, and that's why he's so good. And it's why I'm afraid that the Democrats won't be able to beat him this year. I'm hopeful, but I don't think I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. But his use of the media, that exactly what you said, Matt, is that he can say some wild shit to nuclear nations, and we forget about it in a week. It's because he says something else that's equally as wild.
Yep, and that is too repetitive and too convenient for that to just be just how he is. That's so clever. It's so clever.
It's like he's
not a genius. He's very clever.
I think he's a genius in. I think if he were like playing Skyrim, yeah, all his points he would have 100 charisma or like 5 million charisma and then 0 in every other category.
That's Oblivion you're thinking of, son.
Oh shit, there we go, Oblivion. Like
fair enough.
He has so much charisma. He's able to just lie to people in their face and like,
Donald's
a character.
Say whatever bullshit. Yeah.
He's able to be deeply connected with a known sex trafficker, a known paedophile, and still be kind of cool.
So many people are it's the same thing with that dude.
But like, Bill Clinton will go to fucking jail. Donald Trump's not going anywhere. Too rich.
Yeah, Clinton's rich though as well, man.
But Clinton doesn't have that charisma. He doesn't have that kind of.
He does. He's a good talker.
No,
he's just 20 years ago.
He's a good talker, but would you ever classify? Have you ever met or seen someone online that would defend Bill Clinton like they do Trump? Like, this is the new Christ. This is my guy. He could shoot a person on 5th Avenue and I'd still vote for him.
Well, yeah, not the same respect. It's not contemporary. It's not. He's not happening now.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a different world.
He's basically kidnapped the Republican Party, kidnapped all their voters, and gone to all the other senators. If you fuck with me, man, I'm gonna fucking ruin your whole shit. And there's nothing you can do about it.
I'll take a shit on your desk, and people will say it tastes nice.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like that comment. It's like a South Park skit where it's like in the I think it's the 20th season, something like that, when he got elected. You know, basically kind of drawing the comparisons between Trump and like a domestic violence a perpetrator. That he's kind of got them. That he's kind of got them like he's kind of got them like they can't leave because like he'll change like he'll change. And he's kind of got them. He's like I'm just gonna fucking beat you down, like here's what it is, and you can't do anything because I actually have like leverage over you. You can't do anything about it. That's what he's amazing at manipulation. Amazing.
It's very interesting.
And manipulating the media is his favorite tool. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting that you can be like Donald, like you can ask him any question and he goes, his answer to the question isn't an answer to that question. He's going, well, why did you ask me that? And now you're not even talking about the same thing he's talking about.
Yeah, he just dodges it completely. He just changes it around. But yeah, I mean, it's something that's been it's a fucking you're beating a dead horse with it. But it's more like, what do we do about it? Because it's so exhausting.
What we need is an independent fact-checking service. This is global.
Nah, it's called Wikipedia, mate.
Mate, but you can edit your Wikipedia article.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking like you get on BBC. I'm saying you don't need to change anything.
No, fucking BBC.
BBC is could be used for good, but I don't care.
Everything can be used for good.
I don't care whether it's the BBC, whether it's Sky News. I don't care who it's owned by. What I want is like a little thing in the bottom of the corner that when Boris Johnson says we're going to put 50,000 new nurses on the thing, it says actually the Conservative manifesto says that they're going to put 31,000 and 19,000 of them are going to be people who stayed on. That's all you need to do.
What? You just
So
fact.
on your
so
TV,
it just fact checks
facts.
them.
It's just straight facts, and you can't have a situation where Doris in Dorset is kind of going, oh, I get 50,000 new nurses. That sounds great.
So you'll just hear the what's that fucking term? Jew talking point, no, whatever. You'll just hear that little soundbite. So you hear that little soundbite and just repeat it because they know it sounds good. So you'll be like, yeah, that's great. Why should I check that?
Like, we're gonna get 50,000 new nurses. And I want a little thing to pop up on the screen that goes, that's not real.
He is the living embodiment of the Harry Enfield sketch. I've got, I was drunk.
And we love
him.
that.
I don't fucking love it.
But the British people love that. They love a bumbling buffoon, but he's a lovable rogue. He gets the job done.
No, he doesn't.
What job done?
No, he doesn't. But again, with this fucking bullshit, I don't know anyone who likes him.
Oh man, I know a few people who like him.
Oh, that upsets me.
But that's the thing. But I get it though, because he's a fun guy.
Yeah, I don't want a fucking fun guy. I want people who are gonna get shit done.
No one wants a fun guy to be. You don't want like your fucking Uncle Jeff who gives you like.
You don't want a fun guy. Do you know why? Because it's fucking mauled.
Yeah, true. You don't want a fun guy because government shouldn't be fun.
No, you shouldn't want to do it.
You shouldn't want to do. It should be something you.
If you want to do
government,
if you want to do government, or if you want to be in power, you shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, that is exactly it, and that's what Boris Johnson wants to be.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to be prime minister just so he can say that he was the prime minister.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why.
And he'll be like, "Yeah, I had a shit haircut, but I did a great job." And you're like,
do you know what I'm saying? At least Blair came.
Wrong on that one.
At least Blair came to it with the education thing, and we can.
Yeah, and he was in various positions of power beforehand, whereas just being mayor doesn't really count because you weren't really doing anything.
So you're mayor of London.
He's made some bikes, mate.
Oh shit! Oh no, that is fun. It's like the mayor of. It's like he's mayor of London, and like he built that. Was it Garden Bridge?
Don't get me fucking started on that, mate. Don't even do it.
Was it a few million to his mate?
50 million.
50 million to his mate.
Yeah. So the public project was we're going to make this new bridge. We're going to make this new bridge. And how government does it is they outsource. They put the project up for a bid between companies. So you need to have a minimum amount of companies from different areas, and they put bidding in, and the government chooses which one. And so so how it normally works, you give them the date, and the three will show up. They gave the two of them the date, and they gave his mate's company the date before that. So he got there first, and then they could go, oh well, I guess the other two aren't serious because they didn't show up. So you automatically get it. They turn up 2 days later and they're like, we're here for the bid. They're like, what bid were you talking about?
It's already done.
So they already got it.
Oh,
and you had some bullshit. For some reason, Joanna Lumley was wrapped up in it. And she was basically wrote a letter to, because he was still mayor at the time, they wrote a letter to like the commission board or whatever, being like, oh, this bridge is going to be amazing, this company's going to be amazing or whatever. Because then there's some bullshit clause about you needed some celebrity endorsement.
Really?
Yeah, some other LBC did a whole piece on it, and it was mind blowing. Because the guy called in, he was an editor of an architecture firm, a magazine.
Oh wow!
So he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, so that bridge, they put the hall together for it, never got started, never was ever built. The money has vanished. There's no accountability to it. This £50 million of taxpayers' money has fucking vanished, and that was 4 years ago. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, whatever. And you're like, what? And this is why I hate fucking Boris, because so this fucking arsehole who takes the piss out of the police and the fire service is in charge of a fucking country now. It's the same arsehole who's given 50 million to his mate, who then gave him however much in backhanders over the years.
But he's funny, Matt, and he's a lovable rogue, Matt. That's the conversation.
Or again, is it a case of that? It's like Trump when they are just exposing how bullshit this is.
The thing is, the difference between, I think,
Watch
Boris...
out, mate, some birds are coming.
Oh, shit, dog.
I'm going to go somewhere else, it's all good.
Lit. I think the difference between Boris and Trump is that...
One's got better hair.
Oh, no, I think, yeah, they do. Yeah, one does have better hair. But I think the difference is that the British people have this weird skepticism because we're not a really new country. So we've kind of built this, like, we've had, like, hundreds of years of our kings and queens kind of belittling us and kind of treating us like we're less than them and dumb.
Yeah, which is why we have that self-deprecating nation.
100%.
Nature, yeah.
We're a self-deprecating nation, so a lot of us can kind of. I think the reason why Boris is prime minister is because a lot of us go, this is fucking bullshit, because we can see it, we know it's bullshit, but we go, I'm not fucking voting for any of these cunts. You know what I'm saying? And like that's what it is. But I think the Americans, they really. the one thing that I felt with every American that I've ever met, and every kind of American kind of pundit that I kind of watch on YouTube or kind of any kind of American articles, they really fucking believe. The American dream is like a real thing. They really believe.
They're brainwashed to believe it.
I'm so 100%. They're just like, I wouldn't say brainwashed. I think it's just the ideals of their country. They want this to happen. They really believe. It's like, I think it's, they really, really believe in something to like a higher. They want. They're all striving for this goal. They really believe in this thing. So it's really easy to just sell something to someone
because they already wants to believe it. Good point.
They already want it. They already want Trump to make America great again.
Yeah, whereas us, we're just like, we just want to be left alone.
It's like, oh, if you're
leave us alone.
If your MP came to your door, you'd be like, oh my fucking hell, man.
Yeah. You'd literally be there like, oh,
it's fucking Matt Rodder.
You're like, I thought you were Jehovah's Witness. You're like, oh.
He's just like, hey, it's me. I'm your Labour. I'm your local MP. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Just saying, that's exactly what we do.
That's true. Yeah, there is something about
I think the one thing we can do to defeat these people is to start believing but being skeptical at the same time, having this kind of hope and kind of idea that you're all driving for. Because I think that's the thing that I love about the Americans, that they're so hopeful. They're so hopeful. They really believe that they can just go into Iran and just bulldoze them in 30 days and do everything. They really believe that.
Yeah,
and that's why it's so easy.
They're just being manipulated.
100%. But if we combine that belief with the British kind of sensibility of like, yeah, come on, man. Like,
oh yes, be a bit more realistic. Let's spend a bit more time, find other things to do. Yeah,
100%. I think that would work. I think if Jeremy Corbyn had been a better leader of the Labour Party,
he's a fucking wimp.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the perception he has.
It's just pathetic. And he came out. What was that fucking he identified himself as? You were there like, shut the fuck up, mate.
I don't know.
If you've been doing that since day one, cool. If you're doing that when you're in your 60s, shut up.
It's just one of those.
You've just started doing it. Fuck off, mate.
It's just like, I think I don't really have much faith in Keir Starmer as our Labour leader, but I think it's a matter of we need a person that is honest and has an understanding of how to use the media.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Jeremy Corbyn just allowed. Because I think Jeremy Corbyn, if they didn't allow the kind of slander and things that I saw about Jeremy Corbyn on the media and stuff like that, if he didn't allow that, if he was able to be more kind of Trumpian or kind of more Boris-like and think of just complete manipulation of the media, I think that would have been more. He would have been. I think he would have easily been, because you can easily disprove Boris's things if you're savvy about it.
And you know, all media outlets just went, yeah, let's go to town on him. Let's fucking destroy
100%.
him. Let's destroy Jeremy. It's so easy. It's so easy to ruin him.
Like in your brain, do you think who do you think would be easier to? Whose reputation would be easier to damage? Jeremy Corbyn's or James O'Brien's?
Jeremy Corbyn's.
Exactly, because James O'Brien doesn't take shit.
He doesn't. He will fuck you up. He
doesn't
take any shit.
Doesn't take shit.
Yeah.
And he's been in the rooms with the big boys and he's gone, do you know what? You're fucking wrong.
Yeah, like, you're wrong.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
And just holding people to the fire.
And with him as well, he's a career journalist
100%.
who is. I'm so grateful for him and for LBC as a whole, because even they take great. They've got some real strength to have like Nigel Farage on, because I disagree with him, but it's fantastic they've got him on because I disagree with him, because he's an opposing view to most of the people on there. They've done a very good job, very, very good
100%.
job. And like, Imagine Now as well, Nick Ferrari. Imagine Now is like, the problem with him is that I agree with most of what he says. I hate how he talks to people.
This is what I'm saying. I was exactly the same.
Because he's always there like, people start talking, and people start talking, and they start saying something, and he's there like, no, that's not quite what I believe. And they start, and he's like, mute. So this is how you got to do it, and he just mutes everyone. I'm like, dude, I agree with what you're saying, but you're doing it in a way that just pisses people off. It pisses me off, and I agree with you. What do you think about people who don't agree with you? Like, I was like, fuck me.
You have to talk to these people. Like, you have to. Like, it's one thing I said it in the last time I'm on Harping On. You know,
which is what this is, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, sorry, this is Harping On.
It's episode 9. This is.
Happy birthday. But it's one of those things where, like, I think I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Imagine Now was.
Yeah, it's like, I think you have to listen to these people, but I think the majority of the regular working man is not a Boris Johnson level or a Trump level of being able to manipulate or fuck with words so that you kind of go, okay, I get what you're saying. But so a lot of these people that he talks to, they like when James O'Brien just lets people talk, and you go, oh boy, oh boy.
But he's great because he's there like, Right, okay.
It's like,
Let's
here we go.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
what
But
I'm
but you're right. He's good in the fact that he lets them say what they got to say, and then he's like,
You can.
okay.
I've always believed throughout my entire life is that there's certain words you can say that which gets you into X situation. I believe, like, say you're in a bank. I believe there's a certain combination of words you can say to the bank that gets them to give you a loan of $1 million, £1 million. I 100% believe that, and it's about kind of the way you present yourself and how you do that. And I think there's a certain kind of phrase that you can say to these people that are out there, these people that kind of believe in kind of that mythical kind of Brexit ideal of we'll get the foreigners out for Brexit. Okay, but they won't kick the EU migrants out of the UK.
They're already here.
Because they're already here.
Yeah.
So what do you want to say to that? And they go, well, I just want them out, but they won't be. So what is good about Brexit? And you're like, that's that kind of sentencing.
Well, here's the thing, like, about it, because there's I was talking to my dad about it the other day. Is that it got to a point where it wasn't even like, okay, I think this way. I want it. I'm for it, and I'm leave and I'm remain. It didn't even get to that point of like, okay, these are logical reasons why I want to do either of them. It's I'm going to stick with this team. I'm going to stick with that team. It became a fucking idea. It was an ideologue war when it wasn't even. No, these are my rational arguments for why it needs to be like this. It needs to be like, okay, I think this. Therefore, all the other things associated with that is what I now am.
100%.
And you're there like, why?
It's just,
why do you think to think that? You don't need to do. Nuance is like a sin. It's like a cardinal sin in the minute.
Yeah.
It needs to be black and white. Let's so that we can fight. So we can fucking sell. So the media, so the newspapers, fucking online clickbait bullshit can just sell, get the money, make these horse shit fucking statements. Fucking Brexit's a great one because that is something that's been going on for 4 fucking years.
Because
they've
British,
made
man.
millions out of talking
Straight
about it from this fucking thing that could have taken a couple of months. They've done
100%.
4 years of an argument of a issue that arguably shouldn't have been fucking raised in the first place.
Bro, like,
And they were like, we love it.
100%.
Endless conversation. This will go on for 2 or 3 more years
100%.
easily.
If they really wanted to leave, they would leave.
Yeah, but they're like, nah, but sells too much fucking papers, man.
What I think has happened is they've gone,
Too much
we should.
money.
They've gone, leave means leave. Like, if you speak to a lot of Brexiters, they go, me and Sam from work, me, Sam and Tom Beavis were on a lunch at work, and we ran into this guy. We had an hour-long conversation with this UKIP guy who, kind of believed in some stuff. And if you talk to these people, they kind of, again, he was a really great guy. I really like that guy. He was a really rational guy. But if you talk to a lot of these people, comes down to just kind of it just comes down to this thing called leave means leave. Okay, cool. Leave means leave. Why haven't we left that then yet? And then you kind of break it down and go, well, if we leave now without a deal, it's going to be a bit shit. No. But you vote for leave means leave, didn't you? You didn't think about it. You went on, this is my side, a leave means leave.
Yeah.
So leave then. Let's leave. Let's do it. I'm a big believer in what my grandma used to say. Grandma Petrola, she's a great woman. She said, who can't hear must feel. Yeah, you can't listen, and it is what it is, bro. Like, you're going to get punched in the face sometimes. One day it's going to happen. And it's because you didn't listen.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I think, I'm a staunch believer in the idea that the UK should be more connected than it is divided, and should be more at home with our European allies. But man, if these people really want it to be that bad, let's do it. If the older generations, which is primarily who voted for Brexit, if they want to leave so bad, let's leave. Our generation will fix it the same way that we'll try and fix climate change. Yeah. But understand that you've abdicated all responsibility to ever talk to us ever again. You've abdicated any kind of idea of going, our generation, things are better in our generation. Yeah, they were, because you joined the fucking EU, you absolute idiots.
Yeah.
You joined the EU.
Yeah, you chose to be there, yeah.
We've reaped untold benefits from it.
Yeah.
It's protected. We haven't had was it 20 years between the outbreak of World War II and World War One?
So ended in 18, starting in 39.
So yeah, nearly
21 years.
In 21 years, yeah. We could have had another one in between that, but we haven't. A part of that is due to the kind of the cohesion between the European allies. If we all have a shared benefit, which is kind of taxable goods, and we have we all benefit from being able to move freely and kind of going to trade with Germany and stuff like that. They don't have a kind of, we're not separated, so we don't have this kind of idea of that this is Germany, this is France. We have an idea of This is Europe.
Yeah, we're
have
a
these-
collective.
you have these-
So we prevent this war again.
We prevent these wars from happening because we all have a shared moneyed interest.
Yeah.
If money is the is if people don't go to war, we go to war for oil and stuff like that, but that's primarily due to money that we reap from wars from
Yep.
oil. So if we all have a
Yes.
moneyed, do you know what I'm saying? If we had like a moneyed interest in investing in a bit of Germany, investing in a bit of France, then that means that we're less likely to go, my king's cousin is fucking up over there. Let's go and
It's a very good point.
and
actually,
blow his
yeah.
shit up. We have an actual moneyed interest.
If it's something you disagree with, invest in that thing, so that you can then have a better control over it, or an investment in it. That's a very
100%.
very good
And
point.
that's what the Americans have done with Saudi Arabia. They've got a moneyed interest in Saudi Arabia, so they never talk bad about Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
and they'd never
Yeah,
really
so
go and invade.
they can never reprimand them.
100%.
Yeah, so they've done it the wrong way.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Well, we've done it. I argue in a good way. We've decided. We're gonna invest in kind of German trade and we've got BMWs here now. Everything like that. That's great.
Yeah.
We don't have to rely on British automotive like all the time. XYZ. So we can do XY. We can do everything we want to do, and that's great. And now these Brexit people are going, leave means leave. Let's leave the EU. Why? So we can regain our control of our country.
Okay.
But we could have always done that.
Control?
What control? Is that control? Is that control of our borders? Yeah, I want the immigrants out, but our government has chosen to keep our borders open the same way they have. They could have done it like Luxembourg or Belgium.
This has been like driven home to me, and hopefully to other people as well. Like this lockdown has shown how fucking precarious and how reliant everything is on other people moving and money moving.
100%.
Like my business, not mine, but the industry that I'm in, would die without people coming out and moving, and it's shown how precarious and how fucking complicated it all is.
Yeah.
It's never as simple as let's just leave. It's not like if you share like a barbecue between two your house and your neighbours, and you're like, right, we're not gonna use it anymore. It's like no, it's like you've got to go down to the molecule of that barbecue and divvy out who's gonna have what.
100%.
It's
You're intrinsically linked, like at the hip.
It's so complicated. Even just managing a town, imagining a village, imagining a few houses, imagining a street. It's so complicated, and you can't just boil it down to leave, or we have
Brexit
to say
means Brexit.
Yeah, you've really got to have a really invested, intelligent, nuanced perspective of it, which people aren't going to do, and you can't sell that
because it's easy to just say.
You can't sell. Okay, this is a vastly complicated socio-economical decision that we have to make now. It's going to drastically affect our country for the next 100 years or so, and you've got 6 months to decide on it.
Yeah,
and you're like, what the fuck?
What are you talking about?
I found out like 2 months beforehand because I didn't know anything about it before then.
That's what I'm saying.
What the fuck?
It's just one thing. It's easy to if you're good at marketing, like a Boris Johnson, like a Donald Trump. It's easy for you to sit down and just go, let's just put this to the people in this way. Like before the Brexit vote, did you ever see any conversations that were like kind of these are the economic impacts of how is it that we voted for? How is it that we voted for something
without knowing what the possible?
Was.
Yeah, we didn't know what the possible fucking recourse was it for either decision? No.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, either remain, nothing's going to change. Okay, maybe we should look into what's happening now because there's definitely mismanagement of money. But also leave. Okay, that's going to be a huge difference. All these things are going to change, and neither of them were addressed.
100%.
Neither of them were addressed. Like, okay, this is how much we pay to the EU. This is how much they pay us. This is how we get our import of
100%.
doctors and stuff. The NHS. Blah 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 blah.
What you see is we send 350 billion to the EU over the course of a year. We could invest that in our NHS. Okay, cool. So we're looking at leaving now. So can we have that money now? That money.
No, we don't have it.
That money doesn't exist. Sorry, that money doesn't exist. But we can't vote on it again. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What do you mean? That's the main talking point. Like, oh, we never said that. It's like you had it on buses.
You had it on buses. You fucking idiot. Like.
Yeah, and they weren't just normal buses. You got specifically big buses. Yeah.
You got huge buses to drive around.
Yeah, bigger than normal.
It's a crazy world we live in, man. It's a crazy world we live in.
It is, but okay. But here's what I want to take from this: is that it's crazy and it's fucking nuts. But we are realizing it's fucking nuts, and we're realizing it's crazy, and it's why we can actually do something about it. Like the time. We finished being a band as a unit in February, and since then, so that's been March, April, May, June, July. That's 5 months. Most of that time, since then, we've practiced successfully once, and it's been a huge change because we've had that time to do our things ourselves. We've had time to work on ourselves, to develop, to aspire, to get better. And I think that's the same thing, extrapolating that to normal life as it is, because I've started this. I've got other projects with you, with individual ones with people, with other people at work and stuff like that. I've got more things going on, and I'm having more of these conversations with people like yourself, these sort of conversations with other people, because we're realizing that, because when we're at work, I'm doing a Shapiro and just rambling.
No, fine.
Real fast.
Quick enough.
Real fast. Yeah, I'm really good to get that on it. But when you're working,
as a clown,
when you're working 5 days a week, when you're working 40 hours a week, you're just stuck in that, and you're stuck in that cycle. You're not giving yourself a chance to think about what it is you want. You're just in that cycle.
Yeah.
If you break that cycle, you're then like, okay, what is actually valuable to me? What do I treasure? Like for you probably got a deeper connection with Lucy because you spent more time with her.
I love that bitch.
Yeah, exactly. He says it in the most endearing way, but
she knows it.
Yeah, so you got a better connection with that because of the time you now had together. For me, I fully understood what I realised where I'd been neglecting myself, so I started reading more. I've got more books. I've started to expand myself. Like you saw from my library, it's all new stuff. I started reading.
Banging books.
But again, it's things that I've realised that I really, really want to know. I really have a hunger to know. I've found that hunger again to actually like want to read them. And I think we are in a real, and obviously the whole fucking perfect storm of George Floyd and protests and all the riots and all that shit. We are in a prime position to actually change things in our lives, and it's an opportunity where it's the media and all that bullshit we want to see wants us to be scared, to be worried about, to be thinking about all this bullshit that, you know, I'm not gonna get fucking COVID, and if I do, I'm gonna have a cold for 3 days and I'll be fine. Same with you.
Yeah.
But they want us to be like that because it gets us scared. It keeps us compliant, contrite. It makes us spend money. It makes us buy shit.
Oh yeah.
It makes us, you know, lose our stuff. Whereas if we're careful about it, if we're objective, there's so many opportunities for growth. Like projects with yourself, projects with other people. There's so much to do. There's so much potential. It's like you're plugged into the fucking mains. There's so much
100%.
to do. It's a crazy time, but you're getting. It's a good fucking time because you're, like we said about earlier about like the whole God and evil argument. Is you're only gonna know. Because of the potential so close we had to being really fucking bad, we're now going, okay, we don't want to feel like that again.
Yeah.
Let's make some good shit. Let's do it. Let's fucking drive it. Whereas before, we were just stagnating, which is probably why Handstand Parade stagnated for so long, because we had nothing to lose. So it was like,
100%.
Nothing on the line.
There's no time. There was no
risk. There's no challenge. There was nothing.
I think that's why I'm kind of excited. It's one thing that I'm really selfish about, but it's one thing that I'm really excited about Brexit with, is that I kind of hope, there's a part of me that really hopes we leave, because I hope it gets us back to a position where you've got like Margaret Thatcher's era, where you had so much fucking absolutely amazing art coming out of that in protest of it. Just complete, when you put people into such a shit situation that people just go, I'm going to express myself, and the only way they can do that is art.
Absolutely.
But it's going to make. I kind of want to see the kind of bands that come out post Brexit. I kind of want to see. It'd be so good, that kind of cultural hysteria that kind of comes from these conversations that the conversations that are being had around Brexit, and how that kind of
and society as it is.
Exactly, and we're definitely from the looks of all the projections, it looks like we're going to be much poorer and much less important in the world.
Yep.
And I kind of want to see how
I think
art flourishes from that point.
I think those who can't survive it will move or die.
Yeah,
and then
that's exactly right.
Those who can take it will take it, and they'll bring it fucking back.
100%.
It's like the I think it'll be like the Chester Bennington sort of like scenario, in the fact that, you know, one man's horrific pain created one of the greatest bands of all time.
Yeah,
that'll
true.
be immortalized forever, and through the expression of his pain, he reached out to countless people, myself included, to let them know you are not alone.
Yeah, 100%.
And that is immortalized forever, even though he's still gone.
100%.
It's almost a question of, if we could ask him, what would he say if we asked him, was it worth it?
Yeah, exactly.
What would he say? I wonder, is it worth all that pain to create that incredible legacy? Is it?
Because it's like
would you say that one person to then maybe millions of people who potentially could have killed themselves because they didn't have him to support them?
100%. Yeah, 100% to really speak some real truths.
Yeah, but you get that beauty and you get that struggle and aspiration from the difficulty.
100%.
From the horror. Yeah.
That's 100%. It's like you wouldn't get Lord of the Rings if there's no World War One.
Yeah, exactly.
And that inspires fucking every fantasy writer you've ever seen.
Literally. Well, yeah. Fucking. No, man.
Oh yeah. Fucking so sick. We are nerds.
Yeah, we are the nerds. Well, I think that's a good thing to end on, saying we are nerds.
We are nerds.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, and watching as well. I hope you enjoyed us fucking up with the sound. I'm gonna have to sort out how to do the sound later.
No, it'll be right. We're good.
All right, cool.
We're good.
Peace out, everyone.
Right, Pache.